Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A dog had followed his owner to school. His owner was a fourth grader at a public elementary school. However, when the bell rang, the dog sidled inside the building and made it all the way to the child's classroom before a teacher noticed and shooed him outside, closing the door behind him. The dog sat down, whimpered, and stared at the closed doors. And then all of a sudden, God appeared beside the dog, patted his head, and said, "Don't feel bad, fella. They won't let me in either." How true. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with the Pledge of Allegiance on Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Good morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Thank you very much. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and, of course, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Busy day today. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Sunshine. How are you?
I am good, and as I told you in the opening before we went on the air, at 8:30 this morning, we're expecting to have a long-distance call from Senator Mike Crapo back in D.C., so we got a lot of things to do. Do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Michael Rogers on for the pledge and for the weather.
Good combination. Thank you, Gina. Go ahead, Michael, please.
Morning, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's 41 degrees in Murtaugh. Winds out of the south at 24, gusting at 31. Our weather story is going to be rain all the way through Sunday. Not going to come out of it until Monday of next week. Be advised, the National Weather Service, both in Pocatello and also in Boise, are issuing flooding statements for the area, as you will see more rain than you will see snow. That doesn't mean the other areas in Idaho are not snowing. If you're heading 86 toward Pocatello, Idaho Falls, you're going to run right into a lot of snow. And if you're heading up towards Sun Valley, the Big Wood Valley, you're going to run into a lot of snow there. Temperatures for our area are going to be definitely on the mild side, with the warmest day out of the whole period Saturday, looking for a high of 56, 55 for a high on Friday. Today, you're looking for a high of 46, and you'll start hitting the 50s tomorrow. And then you're going to pop out and level off by the time you get to Sunday. So be careful, be safe, enjoy the day, and enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There is the number one weatherman in the world, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Hey, the big Sheridan Ranch 19th Annual Bull Sale's coming up on March 1st at the Burley Livestock Auction Yard, and that's going to be where they're selling 70 head of ripping good bulls, Gelbvieh, Angus, and Balancers, Gelbvieh and Angus Cross. 20 head will be coming 2-year-olds, 50 head will be big, mature yearlings, and let me tell you something, they have spent a lifetime producing this great herd of cattle, and their weaning weights are usually around 650 pounds or better. Free delivery up to 300 miles, complimentary lunch at the sale. Sheridan Ranch, 19th Annual Bull Sale, March 1st, 1 p.m., Burley Livestock Auction Yard. Don't you miss it. Cordell puts out a really good sale. Absolutely. Also, and we're in kind of a hurry this morning, and I'll tell you why, because I got a lot of things to get done so that we can go with Senator Mike Crapo. We've got limited time this morning, and I'm not going to be taking calls with questions from Mike because we just don't have time in this first hour. It's so run together. But we've got some excellent questions, believe me, lined up I want to ask him about. Thank you very much if she's listening this morning. Yesterday we had a box come in the mail, and it was from Doris Haynes, and I opened it up, and there was some absolutely fantastic cowboy homemade peanut brittle, and it is good. Doris, God bless you. That is really, really good peanut brittle. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Also, I want to remind you, if you're looking for lights, incandescent light bulbs, and you're thinking the government's trying to take them all away from you, we'll get them stored up now so that you can kind of thumb your nose at the government. Well, Ramsey Heating and Electric is stocked up on incandescent light bulbs, and believe me, they've got a lot of them. I've got to get in there and get mine. Keith, if you're listening, hold me a whole bunch, would you? And don't forget that you can get them by the box or individually, 40, 60, 75, or 100 watt. They've got them, but they're not going to last long, so you got to get in there and get yours at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Don't forget, they've got all your incandescent light bulbs before they're almost a thing of the past. You better get into Ramsey's today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see what else have we got coming up here. Today, in 1809, Abraham Lincoln was born, and today we celebrate his life, his presidency, and his outstanding leadership. Abraham Lincoln's birthday today, and I salute a man that made a permanent mark and niche forever in history as President of the United States of America. Our thanks go also to our friends at Valley White Home and Ranch. Okay, it's your turn to give me a call, 436-2244. Valley White Home and Ranch, I'm telling you what, they've got everything over there. All your clothing, all your boots, as wet as it is, maybe you need a new set of boots. I'll tell you, they've got them all. And they've got all your pine shavings for your trailers and stalls, all your clothing. I mean, jackets, vests, gloves, hats, you name it, it's there. And I keep telling you that the high school rodeo season's starting up before too long, and they've got all the horse blankets, tack, everything at Valley White Home and Ranch. Steve and the rest of the crew put a lot of time and effort into making sure they've got what you're looking for at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Stop in and see them today. Big ice storm. And this is really interesting. Last night, I had the occasion, I like this guy. I've talked to him personally on a couple of occasions, Joe Bastardi with the National Weather Service. Last night, he was on O'Reilly, and he was telling us all about the cyclical weather patterns and everything. And what I like about Joe Bastardi, and if you've noticed it when he's on television and everything, he is not going to stand by and let somebody like O'Reilly run over him and put words in his mouth or take words out of his mouth. And he stood up for exactly what he believes. He's a very, very good meteorologist, and he just said this is all cyclical. It's been like this. He gave exact dates and times back into the 50s, 60s. He goes into everything with all the weather patterns and everything. And right now, the southeast and along the east coast is going to get hit again probably today, with some people calling it an historic event. Cold, I mean ice storms all the way from Atlanta up along the East Coast, and a lot of snow as it gets higher up the coastline. And the last time Atlanta got hit with that ice storm, naturally, being Atlanta, Georgia, they weren't really prepared for it, and it caused all kinds of problems. They had students sleeping overnight in school buses. They had people sleeping overnight on the floors of restaurants and or grocery stores. They just aren't used to that kind of stuff down there, so they're prepared now. They've got trucks. I think they've had trucks come down to Atlanta and that area from as far north as Ohio to help get prepared for this great big storm. You know, I got to tell you, folks, I was so pleasantly surprised and pleased at Thomas and the crew over there at Denny's restaurant for our first Zeb's Lunch Bunch last month in January. I didn't expect that kind of hospitality. I didn't expect that kind of really caring. I didn't expect that kind of fantastic service. I didn't expect the great meals like they came out for everybody in such a hurry. It was absolutely phenomenal at Denny's restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time. You stop in, you're going to love it. Celebrate your birthday at Denny's with a free Grand Slam. Just bring in your valid ID proving it's your birthday. You better believe it. Great place to eat. Our next lunch bunch is going to be on February 27th, Thursday, February 27th, at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. Really nice people. All right, it's your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wouldn't you like to have about maybe 5 minutes in a closed, locked door room, no windows, and the room only about 8 by 8 with Hamid Karzai of Afghanistan? You know, we are giving that country, and this man pilfering a lot of it for his own personal usage, we're giving them billions and billions of dollars on an annual basis in Afghanistan. And this man has done so much to throw us, the United States, under the bus, and he will do almost anything to antagonize us. And yesterday, I came home. Deanne and I had to run to town, and I'm a passenger. She does all the driving. I just try to get in the truck. And came home, turned on the news, and saw that this man, Karzai, had released 65 terrorists. He just said, there's the door, they're open, hit the streets, hit the world, go ahead and terrorize again. These terrorists that he released have killed Americans before. They've got American blood on their hands. And this man, Karzai, takes our money, and our soldiers go over and fight for him. They use all of our machinery, our mechanizations of war and everything else, and then he turns around and releases 65 terrorists who I think should have been lined up against a wall and shot. What good is this man? What good is the mess that we're in over there? There doesn't seem to be any rules of engagement like, Karzai, you play by our rules. You want our help? You want our money? Then you do as we say, and you do not waver. What is the matter with the United States of America that we would kowtow to this little meek 5'7", 135-pound punk? You tell me. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Valentine's Day's coming up on Friday. And the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley is ready to help you. They can make up all the Valentine presents and baskets for you. They make baskets from $18 to $30, and they make kids' baskets from $9 and up, and they can put anything in them you want. Yes, they're fantastic. And they also have sandwiches and salads. The Goodie Shop, 133 West Main Street in Burley, 647-0106. These folks are good. Hey, how about this? The Drift Inn, 545 F Street in Rupert. Perfect getaway for the weekend on Valentine's Day. I mean, call right now this morning and find out if they're not all booked up. It'd be a great idea. 6 spacious, newly remodeled suites available for overnight guests. Oh, yeah. Just call 436-1300 to book today. And don't forget, the food is fantastic. Everything's great at the Drift Inn, 545 F Street in Rupert. Really good, folks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Jeff. I've seen the same thing, and you know what? We made a mistake by voting that Kerry in as Secretary of State. He's not doing us a bit of good except giving away our money and not taking care of our troops, and he's starting to work against Israel. I'm sick and tired of the crap. Mr. Boehner, get a little bone in your backbone. Stand up and put the deal to them people that you're supposed to be doing instead of pussyfooting around and giving in to them.
Al, I must be missing something here, and I've got to find out what it is. I mean, I just don't understand where not only the congressman, Not only Boehner, but also all of our senators, etc. Where is the backbone and the spine to say enough is enough? Hamid Karzai, listen, we got a long-distance telephone call from you, and it's the United States of America. You're not getting one thin dime until you adhere to all our rules and regulations. Shut up, sit in your chair, act kingly, and just keep your mouth shut, or we're pulling out of Dodge City, and we're taking our money with you.
Well, they should have been taking that money back from that Karzai and all them guys over there since the last about 9-10 years ago.
Couldn't agree more.
They just insist on pouring money down a rat hole.
Al, there's got to be more to it than this, though. I mean, I don't understand what's going on over there, that this guy would all of a sudden basically stick his thumb in our eye again and release 65 terrorists that have got American blood on their hands from being former terrorists and killing some of our troops, and automatically open the cell doors and say, well, welcome back to the world.
Well, you got a president that's trying to close Guantanamo Bay. That shows me that they're trying to have a power grab, and they're going to put us people like us in them prison camps and turn all the terrorists loose.
Well, it also tells me that we've got a situation to where we're inviting refugees over here that are, they've had limited access and response to terrorism, but they're good people. We won't vet them or check on them or anything, but we'll just take the State Department's, what they recommend is fine.
And how many years now has it that Mr. President Obama told Eric Holder, do not enforce the Border Patrol?
Yeah. Al, we've got problems, but here's the deal. You and I are getting long in the tooth and a little gray in the hair, and I'm so concerned that the younger generation, honestly, I'm not worried about the generation with Gina, but I'm worried about the generation right under there, has no idea or concept as to, A, how the world runs, B, the benefits of this great Constitution in this country, and C, the future with complete government control. I'm really concerned.
I am too, because it's getting to be so all you've got coming up is dope smokers and outlaws.
Ain't that the truth? Thank you, Al. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Hey, don't forget our friends with old Eli. Eli's a good old boy. Eli is a good old boy. I had a good chance to meet him a couple of weeks ago in Twin, and I'll tell you what, they represent Berry Equipment and Rental, and they handle all the Doosan heavy loaders and excavators. You want some big puppy that's going to get out in the feedlot and take care of what you need? It's the Doosan loaders and excavators, and they've got several in stock at Berry Equipment and Rental. You betcha, 2 locations, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls. Call Eli at 732-7368. And also their new location right there on the curve going into Burley on Highway 30, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Really good folks. You call Eli today, and all they're doing is asking for the opportunity to earn your business at Berry Equipment and Rental. You give them a call today. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is so silly. Did you hear? I'm trying to get more of the particulars on this as we speak. It was a quick little news shot that came across this morning as I was getting in preparation for the program. But there's this transgender female. Now, the person is a female, and she's suing her company. Follow me on this now. Follow me on this. This transgender female is suing her company because they, the company, when they hired her, classified her as a her. But this transgender kook is suing the company because she demands that they change her personnel file to where she's nothing. She's transgender neutral. And you know, the way the court system is today, with the idiocy that's going on, she'll probably win. Can you believe that? Suing the company saying, well, you may have hired her or it as a female, but she doesn't like that and doesn't want that anymore, so she's demanding that she be classified as gender neutral. And you think the world isn't going to hell in a handbasket? Guess again. Oh, on a related subject, and I got to get this in here real quick. It was positively disgusting to me, and if any of you read the USA Today and other papers like the Wall Street Journal and even our own local paper made a big to-do about this, that most of the first section in the USA Today had numerous stories about that football player that is gay, Michael Sam, and how much of a hero he is for coming out. They elevated him to superhero status. It was absolutely sickening and appalling. Absolutely. Travel Loop Supply, 1050 West, 203 South, Hebron, Idaho. Number to call, 438-8730. Talked to Jim the other day, and he says they've got a bolt bin route service. Whoop, they'll drive in. Whoop, they'll fill up all your bolts. Have bolts will travel, just like Paladin. And they'll keep your bolt bins filled, metric and standard bolts. And they've also got the bins to throw them in, too. And all your filters and bubble ropes, everything at Travel Loop Supply. Call them. They deliver the goods, 438-8730. Time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. We'll be right back.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The beginning of February has brought most of the Pacific Northwest badly needed wet storms and an outlook for more moisture. But weather experts warn irrigators still face a huge deficit due to extreme dryness through January. Basins across central and southern Idaho received 75 to 95% of their full February precipitation during the first 11 days of the month. Washington State still needs to receive 200% of normal snowfall over the next 2 months to catch up to normal. The National Weather Service says Pacific Ocean conditions have shifted towards a wet pattern and should persist through at least February 19th, bringing decent storms into the region every couple of days.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much, and we've got time for a caller or two before Senator Crapo calls in from Washington, D.C. Give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to go back and ask Gina. She's always got an opinion on a lot of things. Have you ever heard of such a dumb, frivolous, absolutely stupid lawsuit as that person that wants to sue because they classified her as a female when they hired her?
Well, if she is what she is, then she should be classified the way she is.
I mean, what is, like Bill Clinton used to say.
Well, you know, if she was born a female, then that's what she's classified under. You can't, words are gender neutral, not people.
You know, I'm going to go back to this, and I don't care who's offended. God doesn't make mistakes. He does not make mistakes. And for these kooks and crackpots to do this kind of stuff, it just absolutely drives me up the wall. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, you know, you wonder if the young people would be able to respond to a situation where they really realized that they were losing this lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. And I think that, you know, because it still exists the way it always seems like it was, then they continue to do what they've always done.
I agree.
I submit to you that there are enough people in this country whose families have raised them right that they would be able to respond. The percentage would be enough. And that not everybody across this nation is lost, and that there is hope, and that these young people would know better. You know, it doesn't take not much to realize what the situation really is when you really decide to involve yourself.
I agree. Randy, I'm going to be very rude, pardon me, but I think we just got word that the senator is on the line. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Very good call. I'm honored, and he's a good friend of mine, too. We've known each other, for a long time, before I had all the gray hair on my mustache. And this is United States Senator Mike Crapo. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Zeb.
Mike, I'm going to start right off. You know me. I say it every time. I'm pretty blunt. This Obamacare issue. It doesn't surprise you?
It doesn't.
Okay, here we go. When you and I last talked about Obamacare, I know, and I commend you, and I've always spoke very highly of your fight against Obamacare. But now explain something to me, please. When Obamacare was written on the 2,700 pages, and I don't know how many trees they dragged in to make the paper, but when it was written and then given to the Supreme Court to find out if it was lawful and legal, then after that juncture, Obama has taken it back and changed it from the Supreme Court's approval 27 times. Why isn't Washington, D.C., all the senators and congressmen, everybody up in arms because of this man breaking the law? You can't do that, Mike.
You're absolutely right. And the president is going beyond the bounds of the law in his actions. We have filed lawsuits. We have filed legislation. We have fought with the president on every front back here. But, you know, your question was, why wasn't everybody? The president's party is backing him on this, and it's remarkable. In the Senate, of course, it protects them from having to face their votes with those who voted for it, and it stops them from having to take further difficult votes to correct the law. And, you know, I've probably said on your show many times, I'll say it again, elections have consequences, and right now, the consequence of the democratically controlled Senate is they are backing the president 100%.
Okay, but Mike, here's my thought on this, and again, tell me I'm wrong. The Democrats, with their great spin machine back there, they are actually using the Obamacare and the, we can give you subsidies, and like Nancy Pelosi said, Obamacare allows workers to escape their jobs. We're looking at a deadbeat society. The Democrats are advocating that you don't like your job, quit your job, you can just work part-time, and we'll give you the benefits of Obamacare. How do the Republicans beat that kind of PR going into the November elections?
Well, actually, I think it's going to work against the Democrats. You're right. That is the spin they are taking. The CBO, after saying otherwise during the debate over Obamacare, has now admitted that Obamacare is going to reduce employment. And, you know, the president's pushing for a minimum wage increase and for unemployment compensation, but the fact is his own policies are reducing employment. And the Democrats are saying that, well, this is good because it allows people not to work and still get their health care. You know, perhaps they'd like to have a different quality of life and not go to work in the morning and still have their health care. And I don't think the president's going to win on that one. I think that the vast majority of the American people are going to see this for what it is. And they're also going to see, particularly those of them that do choose to work, that they are going to be the ones paying the bill. Mm-hmm. And so I think the way the Republicans should handle this is straight on. Just say this is exactly what the battle is about, folks. And whether it's that example or whether it's the example of the premiums going up or people losing their health care or people losing their job or their wages going down, most people are not going to choose that. They don't want to choose not to work. They want to work. They want the American dream. And Obamacare is a direct shot at it.
Mike, honestly, though, and for all the times you've been on my program and been in my studio, et cetera, and we've talked about this Obamacare mess, it isn't getting better. It's not the O'Reilly and Obama interview on Super Bowl Sunday about how you can spin it and say, well, Obamacare is getting better. It's not getting better. There still are so many loose ends and so many frayed ends, and especially on coverage, people don't know how they're going to pay. People don't know how they're going to get their coverage. People are losing coverage. And when all's said and done, people are saying that there's going to be more people that are not covered in the final result than what they tried to cover in the first place. This is ridiculous.
You're right, and it is not going to get better. It is a totally flawed law. You know, the president made a number of promises. The famous one is if you want your health care, you can keep it. He said you can keep your doctor. He said that your premiums were going to go down on average for all Americans by $2,500 a year. And he said there were going to be no taxes in the bill. He said that quality of health care was going to go up, and these 30 million Americans who were uninsured were going to be insured. Now, when it's all done, you're right. There will still be more than 30 million uninsured, Premiums are going to go up. They're already going up. People are losing their doctor. They're losing their job. They're losing their health care. And the number of people in America who are finally getting it is now well over half of the population. Back during the debate, well over half of the population believed the president. And I believe that the dynamic is changing in this country, and that we will have a very good chance of changing this law if Americans continue to see the truth of it rather than the rhetoric that was used to push it through. So you're right, it's not getting better. It's getting worse because it's now implementing, and the American people are seeing that.
Mike, have we reached the point in this country that we've got a generation of younger people, the gimmies, wanna, and they don't want to work for it? This scares me. Are they basically going to be the generation that's going to sway things towards socialism and government handouts, and we're from the government, we're here to help you type attitude? I mean, I'm really concerned that we can put this thing back on a capitalistic profit, go work hard and achieve something ideal that America stands for.
Well, I agree with you, and I don't know what the answer to that is yet, Zeb. Clearly, the younger generation in the United States has grown up in a country that's far different than the one that you and I grew up in. And the fact is that they do seem to be more accepting of a larger government role in the economy. Now, having said that, it's the younger generation that is getting slammed the hardest by Obamacare. And although it's that generation that tended to vote more than other demographics for President Obama, I don't think that it was because they have given up on the American dream. I don't think it's because they've given up on the work ethic. I really believe that they just have not taken the time and have not yet finalized their political understanding of what Obamacare is, what President Obama is trying to do. And I think that increasingly they are moving away from the kind of government vision that the president is submitting to them. Now, it remains to be seen. We've got another election coming up, and not as many of them voted for Obama as did the first time. I think this time you're going to see even more of them voting the other direction. And my hope is, and I believe, that we're going to see a very strong base of support for the kind of hard work ethic that we both know is the kind of ethic that needs to be strong in America for our country to retain its greatness.
All right, now I've got to switch gears here and get to another question. Who in the world, in their right mind, would want to allow immigrants into this country with quote-unquote limited terror contact? We aren't vetting these people. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they are. They could be like the Sarnav brothers in Boston. Mike, why are we allowing people into this country without knowing their intent, purpose, and their past? This is idiocy.
No, I agree with you. I can't understand why the president has loosened our immigration policy so much. I know in the area of terror, I know why he has in general, because he has wanted to open the borders more and has done so. And frankly, I don't think there is a good answer to your question, Zeb. I don't think that it doesn't make any sense for us to loosen our immigration standards when it comes to those who have any kinds of tie with terrorism.
When you look at situations across the globe and all the conflicts that we're involved in and everything, and then you look at Karzai over in Afghanistan, and here's a little bitty punk that absolutely keeps sticking his thumb in our eye, but yet he takes all of our billions of dollars, and then he tells everybody he's going to release 65 terrorists that have got American blood on their hands. Wow, Mike, as a United States Senator, don't you just want to take a flight over there and grab that guy by the neck?
You sure want to try to change something in our policy. You know, and the same kind of thing is true with regard to the negotiations that are going on right now with Iran and its development of nuclear weapons. The president basically wants us to back off on our sanctions and to trust Iran and trust that Iran will negotiate honestly with us. And at the same time that we are being asked by the president to do that and to release these sanctions that I was part of helping to craft here in the United States Senate, and which are working, by the way, at the same time we're being asked to release those sanctions, Iran is saying that it's getting away with what it wants in the negotiations. It is frustrating. It's very frustrating. But again, I come back to the fact that this points to the need for Americans to pay closer attention, and it points to the importance of outcomes in elections. This next election that's coming up is so important. I hope that young people and people of all ages across this country pay close attention and get very active and involved, because this election is a very, very critical one.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I got to ask you this question, Mike. What about immigration reform? It's been like a hot basketball toss back and forth across center court. What do you honestly think is going to happen or not happen regarding immigration reform?
Well, the likelihood is that there won't be any comprehensive immigration reform this year, primarily because the election is so close and because the issue is quite divisive, not only between the parties, but within the Republican Party. And because of that, I think you'll see some pretty robust debate and, frankly, some good movement, I hope, toward a comprehensive bill. We do need the right kind of immigration reform in the country. But I don't think you will see a comprehensive bill make it through the House of Representatives or the Senate before the election.
One final thought, Mike, and I'll let you go, but I've got to ask you this. Speaker John Boehner basically said, yep, he's going to agree to what's called a clean debt ceiling bill, which basically gives Obama kind of a free rein to spend all the way up to, 2015? What are your thoughts on giving this guy the pen and the power to write more checks?
I'm not going to vote for it. I can guarantee you that right now. And I understand the political dynamic that John Boehner faces, because if he does not move that legislation, then very significant problems arise in the economy that we could deal with better if we were able to attach to it some better fiscal reforms, and that's what my position is. And I know a long list of proper reforms we could use as candidates for that. But the political reality is John Boehner can't pass that kind of legislation in the House. He doesn't have the votes for it.
Okay.
So this was not necessarily his call, or should I say what he wanted to do. This is his only choice at this point. And I'm disappointed in it. Perhaps in the Senate we can reverse that and have a fight to put some fiscal reforms on this and send something back to the House.
Last question, quick thought on this, Mike. With the way Obamacare has absolutely disrupted a lot of Democrats, and they don't want Obama campaigning for them, are you optimistic, honestly, that the Senate might be taken over by the Republicans?
I'm guardedly optimistic. Things look well, not only over a broader view, but in the individual races. And you are correct. President Obama is not the strength that he was in previous years, and candidates literally are avoiding appearing with him in their own states when he comes there. But I'm only guardedly optimistic because you can't count this election as in the bag until it's over. We had a very positive outlook in the last election for our chances of taking over the Senate, and we lost nearly every race. And I attribute most of that to the phenomenal success of the Obama team's get out the vote effort. But he's engaged in helping candidates this year, even though he may not be standing on the podium with them. So it's going to be a very tough fight. People need to pay attention, and people need to vote.
Absolutely. Senator Mike Crapo, United States Senator from Idaho, and thank you so much. God's blessings to you. You really hit a home run with all the answers this morning. Great job, Mike, and come back again soon, please.
I look forward to our next visit, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you much. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoy visiting with Mike, and I know facts are facts, that he, from the get-go, has been adamantly against Obamacare. And I can remember conversations years ago when this thing first started to come into fruition, how much he hated it, et cetera, and all the problems that would be derived from Obamacare. And he was right. He was right. And I just wish, and I still maintain this, that they'd all get together. Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, whatever, and show a power play back in the Senate and in the House. And just literally say, we've had enough of this garbage, Democrats, and just say, we're not going to play your game anymore. We're going to take our ball and go home until you decide to play by the rules. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Had I've been able to call in, I could explain to Crapo why Obama wants those borders open. It's the same thing with the Israelis and the PLO. They wanted cheap labor. The Republicans did. So they didn't fight these border crossings because they wanted these cheap labor to work in their orchards and on their farms. Now it went too far. Obama took over because he wants votes. It's bottom line votes. And now it's got carried away, and the Republicans don't know how to stop it because they see what's coming.
Well,
and the Republican Party will be no more.
We've got a situation, Dwayne, I don't have to tell you. Caller number 2, stay on the air. I'll be right with you. But we've got a situation, you're aware of it. It's not just the Mexican nationals that are trying to come across the border. You know that as well as I do. We have no clue if we've got Iranians, Iraqis, Afghanistans. We don't know who's coming across the border. We don't know what they're bringing. And we've got a border that's just like a porous piece of Swiss cheese, and it's got to be stopped. I know from people I've had on the air, and I know from people that I've talked to in law enforcement in Texas and Arizona, they are, to use a word, Dwayne, scared, because they said we, the general public of the United States, do not know how serious the border crossings are.
Well, I don't think that the international border crossers are digging these tunnels and bringing them over by the hundreds. And if you slow that down and you stop that, then it would be better to detect these other people. You'd be able to stop them much easier than what you are. But there's so many Mexicans coming across that border now that you can't tell whether they're Mexican or whether they're Iranian or what they are.
Yeah, but we've also got another problem too, Dwayne, and I got to sum it up quick because I got to get the weather and another caller in. But we also have a severe gang problem of drug trafficking with the big cartels coming across the border. And you want to know the truth? That's got me more afraid than anything.
Well, it just makes me angry when these politicians, and I like Crapo. He's one of my favorite politicians, but they're all alike. It just makes me angry when they pretend like they don't know why in the world this is happening. And it was happening 20 years ago.
I appreciate your call, Dwayne. I got to get the weather in, and thank you very much. Right. Appreciate it. It's time for the weather. Caller, don't go away. I'll be right with you in just about a minute, but we've got the weather forecast right now, update by MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to us by our friends at Butte Irrigation. Hello, Bryce and the rest of the crew. Great folks, serving Magic Valley since 1975, and they're located at 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and don't forget they've got a new location just a little bit north of Kimberly, right there by Red Cap Corner. Ho, ho! They're serving all the valley for your irrigation needs. Butte Irrigation, they'll get you wet. Here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. The National Weather Service in Boise and Pocatello has put out minor flooding possible across parts of southwest Idaho and also southeast Oregon. What does that mean for you? With the amount of rain that's going to be taking place between today all the way through Sunday, and also you can top that with snowmelt, minor flooding could be arranged around your area, small creek ditches. Nothing as far as river rising, but you're going to see a significant amount of rain all the way through the weekend going into the beginning of next week. That being said, rain in the forecast. The daytime highs will be in the upper 40s to low 50s. The warmest of the day will take place right around Sunday. You're looking for possibly a daytime high of 55. Saturday, daytime high 56. Friday also, daytime high 55. So enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Very well done. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you this hour by the folks that'll get you wet. Butte Irrigation in Paul and just a little bit north of Kimberly at Red Cap Corner. Butte Irrigation. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi there,
and I was
Chris.
listening to Mike Crapo. I really am impressed with him. I think he's a wonderful senator, And I imagine that sometimes at night he goes to bed so tired from carrying such a load back there for Idaho. But, I'd like to hear from Rich Otter once in a while. And I know he thinks he's the busiest man in Idaho, and he probably couldn't tell you.
Now, wait a minute, Chris, just a minute, though, Chris. Chris, I had Butch Otter, the governor, on my program last week.
Oh, well, I was out of town. I'm sorry.
How
does he justify what he's done to our state? Just thumbs down. He's just walking the walk and talking the other talk.
Well, be specific. I mean, come on, be specific in the time that we have.
That he really just signed us up for the national health care thing. And I think that the Idahoans basically turned out and said no. And I don't know, I just feel like and since I didn't get to hear him last week, then I'm not being fair to him, but he doesn't seem to be Idaho's governor much anymore.
Well, let me, in fairness, and you can chastise me for this too. I've got broad shoulders. You can come at me with a pitchfork. When it came down to having Obamacare be basically run by and enforced by, in its entirety, by the federal government in the state of Idaho, or have a Idaho-operated exchange on health insurance, I looked at the options on this program, and I said at that time I would support an Idaho health exchange because I didn't want Obama and his stupid, frivolously dumb people that they've had in other states try to come in and make a mandate on how they were going to run it and how the money was going to go and everything else. So I guess if you want to lump that into a category of you don't like the governor and you don't like me, I also at that time thought a state-run exchange would be better.
Well, I think that it's better that the state-run exchange is out there. I guess that Idahoans we just hate giving up our independence, and I'm one of them.
Well, there's no question. I'm on your side. I totally agree with you, but I guess when it comes down to push and shove, and I had Dean on the program, and I've had Fred and many others, I just looked at the government and the bully attitude of coming in and telling us we had to do this and we had to do that versus setting up our own exchange and having more of a multiplicity of different companies possibly being offered. That's why I said the lesser of two evils possibly would be a state-run exchange. So then again, you can pound the nails in my hand because I advocated it myself.
Well, and I apologize since I was out of town and I didn't get to hear Butch, stand up for what he went with. But anyway, I'm glad, Zeb, you do such a great service for this area, and I hope all of the people are listening.
I appreciate you. You're a very dear friend. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Quickly, Zeb, Russ Fulcher had a different thought about this and plan, and that's up to you if you get him on.
Wait a minute. Let me interrupt you, Randy. Let me interrupt you and tell you what happened, okay? And I want you to know this, and I want everybody to know this. Russ Fulcher was supposed to be on the program yesterday. I am not blaming Mr. Fulcher for not being on the program. He had some people that did not give the information, did not get the telephone numbers to us and our staff, and did not provide the where, when, and how we would get him on the air until yesterday morning at 7:50. That is 15 minutes before I go on the air. I am not about to leave the potentiality of 30 minutes of dead air on a program that's heard all over the United States because people think they can wait till the last minute to get somebody on my program. Ain't gonna happen, my friend.
No, and that's his fault, and I hold him responsible. I mean, if this guy's going to run for office, then he needs to get her together, if that's the case. One more thing quickly. Last night I got a call from a Democratic organization, and Crapo, I spoke about it yesterday, not that I'm ahead of Crapo or anything, and then last night, then Crapo talked about the ground game, and this is what these people are doing. They literally have people working every county across this nation, and especially ones in Ohio, Florida, Virginia, when they have these big elections, their ground game is so unbelievably detailed that they leave no stone unturned. They're already trying to Work, Idaho, and I got this very strange call last night from a Democratic organization. As soon as they found out that I wasn't that I was conservative, they had nothing to do with me anymore. It is truly scary what these people are capable of.
I got to tell you something funny real quick, and it's almost the same as the other day. I got a letter from the Defenders of Wildlife asking me to be a spokesman for their group. They definitely had the wrong cat in the bag that time, Randy.
Yeah.
I got to run. Talk to you later, buddy.
We can also learn how to have our own ground game and beat this deal.
You got it, my friend. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it. Hey, Founders Day celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, we're the best tire value promise in the industry, the best brake service in the industry, all the tires for the different driving for your car, your pickup, and your SUV. You know, the Founders Celebration in honor of Mr. Les Schwab, the man that started it all up at, Prineville, Oregon. Almost choked to death there. I really salute this man, and I salute this great company. They have done an outstanding job of serving you with the best in driving safety with all the tires, brake service, front end alignments, you name it. You stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Abraham Lincoln's birthday today. My goodness sakes. Honest Abe. And Gina, are you still there by your microphone real quick?
Yeah.
Have you ever sat down and considered the names that we do not hear anymore being named to children, like Abraham or Oscar or Norval or anything? You never hear those names anymore, do you?
No, actually you don't, unless I do have a couple family members who they name all of their children through biblical names, but you don't really hear those anymore.
I don't think I've never heard of a person that I've known in my lifetime that was named as Abraham.
I've never known an Oscar. I've known an Abraham. Actually, I grew up with a kid, and we call him Abe.
Really?
But I grew up with an Abraham, but I've never heard an Oscar. I've never met an Oscar. I've never met a Norval.
Huh. Okay, well, just a little point of interest. Hey, I got to run. Okay. Time for the news from ABC. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, my. Noah! Build your ark. It's going to get wet outside. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. I love my pillow, the memory foam pillows. Yes, they're great. And, of course, our dear friends at Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
You know, they always are at your disposal with the best of taking care of your garbage and getting rid of it. Get on the route service today. All you have to do is call 734-6969. And, of course, don't forget, too, they've got now the new Go Minis. That's right. Big 20-foot containers provide better and faster service. And whether you're using them for storage, for emergencies, whatever, talk to them about the new Go Minis. Great mobile storage units at Western Way Services. Call the number 734-6969. Wonderful, wonderful people. That leads me right into my next commercial, wonderful, wonderful people, and that leads me to Joel Heward, owner-manager of Hanson Mortuary. Wonderful, wonderful people. Absolutely. They always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, believe me, your whole life is in turmoil. You don't know what to do the short period of time to dot the I's, cross the T's. Please let them help. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. I got to thinking earlier this morning about my next guest, and it has been, holy buckets, a long time, I think, since we've had a chance to visit on the air because of my surgery and my recuperation, and then his having the disease of being sick with the flu and everything else. My goodness, good morning, Doug Johnson. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. I understand it's muddy and wet up there.
Yes, sir, it is, but I am not going to complain because the good Lord has blessed us with needed moisture.
I was going to say, share some and send it our way. We definitely are looking for moisture.
It's been a long time since we've talked to each other, Doug.
Yeah, it has. It's been a few weeks.
It has been, and I don't think, what has it been, maybe once since I had my surgery that I've had you on the air. Other than that, I've been gone, and you've been sick, and we've had all kinds of problems.
Yeah, I think once or twice is all. Yeah, it hasn't been much, but you sound like you're doing well. You're strong. That's good.
Well, my leg's healing up thanks to my lovely bride, and we got kind of a system going here. Every 15 minutes, I have to change the position of the leg while I'm sitting here at the studio desk, and she'll come in and she'll move the leg this way and move the leg that way, and so we got quite a system. Hey, listen, there's another system I want to talk to you about, and I had United States Senator Mike Crapo on our program here about 45 minutes to an hour ago, and I got to tell you, Doug, that this situation with Obamacare, why doesn't the United States citizenry understand that we are being lied to? We are having things done to us through Obamacare that are unlawful, against the Constitution, but nobody seems to care.
Well, I think people don't care because they don't know. People are uninformed. Rush Limbaugh has coined the term, we have low information voters. I prefer my wife's term, we have no information voters. People don't pay attention. The listeners to shows like yours, readers of blogs like mine and other articles and books, are the limited few. We talk about Fox News being, and I won't get into the whole big thing about Fox News, but Fox News being the #1 news channel, and yet they only get around 3 million, 3.5 million on a really good night watching their news out of 317 million people. That's not a whole lot of people paying attention.
Well, yeah, but okay, fine. But let's use some common sense. What about our educators? What about our school systems? What about everything in the United States to bring awareness and be cognizant of what's going on with our money, our tax money, and how we're having these people supposedly work for us? Since the Supreme Court has looked at Obamacare, the president took it back and then changed it illegally at least 27 times with alterations. Now, the Supreme Court passed on a document of Obamacare under what they saw and read. Now it's not even close to being the same document. It should be null and void. Nobody's saying a word, Doug.
No, they aren't. And the worst part is that as much as it's our responsibility as the citizens, as the voters, to take control and to pay attention, to be educated, and to hold people accountable, we elect people into Congress, the legislative branch, to hold the executive branch and the judicial branch accountable, and they are not doing that. They look the other way. When President Obama this week changed the law again for for his personal changes, not just administration. It was at least 16 times, and you mentioned something about 27 times. The point is he's violated the Constitution dozens of times just with Obamacare, let alone other things he's done. And nobody does anything. We get the Speaker of the House, the third most powerful man in our government, the Speaker of the House. I mean, he is third in line to the presidency if something were to happen, some tragedy that would impact the president and vice president, and he can only make some comment about, well, the president does things and changes it on a whim and then goes off and talks about fairness. Doesn't say a word about this is not right, we're going to take a stand, we're going to hold him accountable. There's none of that. That's what they are elected to do, is to hold each branch is to hold each other accountable, and there's none of that going on. And this is where we as voters, of course, have to hold them accountable and say, we're throwing you out because you're not doing your job. So I really do, as much as I believe it's up to the voters to hold the politicians accountable, Zeb, the other side of that, on a closer note to Washington, it is the politicians' job to be doing something about this, to be screaming to high heaven, and there's only a handful that are.
You know what we need, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but I think what this country needs is a personality clone of Charles Krauthammer. We need more Charles Krauthammers that aren't afraid to stand up and spit in their eye.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are many things about Charles I like, and his insights and his wisdom are great on many issues. And, you know, there are a few people who are willing to do that, but you're right, there are not enough. And I was on another show in Houston this morning, actually a TV show, and as I was on there, we were talking, and the host was talking about a very similar thing. And I told him, I said, you know, this is where we as a nation need to be looking for the people who are willing to stand up and do what's right, regardless of the cost. And we don't see very many of those today. We see a few, but very few. And you know, I'm trying to warn people that we only have months now to the 2014 elections, and these will be critical for the future of America. What happens in November this year I personally believe, will determine whether there is still a chance to save this country.
One question I want to ask you this morning, and I didn't give advance notice that I was going to get into this area, but I got to have you comment on this, is I'm very, very concerned, and I wonder why anyone in their right mind, especially in this Obama administration, would want to loosen the standards of refugees seeking asylum in this country that have had ties to terrorists in the past, but we're not vetting them. We're not finding out who they are. We're not saying, well, what did you do? What didn't you do? What are your motives, etc. We're just giving them an open door policy into the United States. Doug, this is complete sheer idiocy.
Well, it is, and you know, I am actually, for a guy who usually has too many things to say, I have virtually no words. I'm speechless about this. This is just unbelievable. I mean, it's bad enough that we have the things going on that we do. It's bad enough that we have Eric Holder, our Attorney General, in Sweden this week speaking and saying openly that what they want to do is evolve the Justice Department and our government to where they will determine what is fair and how people are treated will be determined by them. So they will determine the classes in society and the fairness in society. But to go a step further, when they literally open the door to terrorists, I'm just in shock, to be honest with you.
One other subject that I don't want to gloss over because it's just so dangerous to our society and our economy is that Obamacare, I want to get back to that just for a little bit, and the spin the Democrats are putting on, especially like with comments from Nancy Pelosi saying Obamacare allows workers to escape their jobs. Doug, we're opening the door. We're opening up a breeding ground of people that aren't going to work because they're going to get freebies from the government. They're going to get subsidies from the government. They're going to be less valuable to be a citizen of this United States because they're not going to be paying any taxes, etc. And they're going to be living off people like you and me. And Pelosi says they can escape their jobs. What kind of incompetency are the Democrats spewing here?
Well, they want dependence upon the government because they know people who depend on the government will always vote for those who continue to give them handouts.
That's right.
And so they want that dependence. That's how the Democrat Party lives and survives. And sadly, the Republicans are trying to think this way, is trying to think, what can we do to counter this? And instead of countering it with good educational systems and training people, raising our culture to a higher standard where we are productive, they are looking at joining the Democrats in this stuff. And what really bothers me, well, a lot of it bothers me, Zeb, but what really bothers me is that for generations, America has been the most productive society and economy in the world. And the reason for that is because we work harder, we put in more hours. That's who we are as a people, and that's what's made our nation great and greater than any other nation in the history of the world. And you look at the countries of Europe that all have their socialist leanings, and all of them have problems as they've added more and more mandatory vacation and benefits, and they've bogged down their governments, and they're in virtual financial ruin, every one of them, because of it. And they have lazy societies versus America, where we have ambition. And what's really interesting about this to me is, if you go to the Bible and you study the Bible, you find out that man was created to work. He was not created to relax.
That's right.
We are not told to take time off. We are told to take 1 day a week off to worship God and then work 6 days a week. We are not told to have leisure. We're not told to retire. In fact, the Bible even says that in heaven we will be working. And yet somehow people get this mindset that, well, we just need to be a leisurely society, and I think it is a death knell for our society if we do that.
But, Doug, how do we change it, though? I mean, kids in school at that age, whether they're in junior high school or high school, it's this gimme, I'll be taken care of. I don't have to put forth the effort. Why? I don't have to worry about it. Everybody's going to get a trophy, and when I graduate, we can get subsidies. We don't have to put forth a lot of effort. I can get by. It's a get-by attitude and not trying to excel, not trying to reach for the stars that's got me scared right now.
Zeb, you just gave me an opening. I could talk for an hour on this one. I'll try and keep it brief, but I'll say two things. You mentioned everybody gets a trophy. That's a real pet peeve of mine. I used to compete in sports and in music and various things, and when I wouldn't come in and win on something, my parents' reaction wasn't, our poor child. Their reaction was, well, you're going to have to try harder next time.
Yes.
And as far as having things, just a little personal testimony here. I grew up in a family. My father was a very successful businessman. My parents told us kids very young, we're not going to leave you the money. We're going to do good things with it. We're going to teach you how to take care of yourselves and make your own money. And in third grade, I came home from school, and my friends, it was nearing the end of the school year, my friends wanted to go to summer camp, and I did too. And I asked my parents if I could go to summer camp, and my dad said, how much money is it? And I told them, and he at the time owned a company that sold candy to schools to go out and do fundraising. Mm-hmm. He was one of the original people who started companies that did that. And he went into the other room, he came back with a case of candy, and he said, here you go. You get 40 cents for every box you sell. If you sell this many boxes, you're going to camp. And I had to go out and earn my way to camp. And from third grade on, whenever I wanted something, I had to go out and sell candy or do something to earn the money. My parents no longer provided those things for me because they wanted me to understand the importance of work and that reward comes through work. That's how we teach our children. We make them work for things. We teach them that they get rewarded when they work and they don't get rewarded when they don't.
Well, and the thing is, just last week, Doug, it made the national headlines that a school had a pizza party for the grade A students that excelled in a certain class. And the rest of the crybabies and wannabes, their parents got together and went, boo-hoo to the superintendent, boo-hoo to the principal. That's not fair. The smart kids get a pizza party. Well, then get up, get your book off the desk, open it, and read it, and try to achieve and excel. I am absolutely not going to care, not going to worry about the ones that don't excel because they were too lazy to put forth an effort.
Well, you're 100% right, Zeb. I mean, this idea that everybody's okay, that everybody has to get an award for participating takes away the challenge of being better. Can you imagine, look over in Russia right now at the Olympics, can you imagine if these athletes from around the world were all raised that way? Can you imagine the level of performance we'd have at the Olympics? Everybody would get an award, everybody would be treated like they were okay, nobody could celebrate, you couldn't say this person was number one. The world competes. Why shouldn't America compete? If we want to be the best, we have to compete. And we are destroying our whole culture, our whole society by taking this away.
Well, it's something that's not getting better, it's getting worse. And even right here where I live in southern Idaho, there's this, let's give everybody a trophy. They're all equal. They're all winners. All they're doing is hurting these kids for later on. And I'm going to stand up, and if they send me a public service announcement for any kind of an activity like that, I will not put it on the air.
Well, I think you're right, and I think I have become a huge advocate of homeschooling and good private schools. There's not many, but there's a few good private schools around the country that will still uphold these traditional standards that are so important. And I think it's time that churches and synagogues and organizations like that, maybe the Rotary or Kiwanis clubs, whatever, need to start doing these things too and create the competitions for our kids, let our kids feel it there. If we're not going to see it in the school systems, Let's give it to them in other parts of their lives. It's still our responsibility to raise and educate our children. It's not the school's responsibility, and obviously they're doing a terrible job. And until we can fix that and get that changed, we need to incorporate these things in other parts of these kids' lives so they know. I mean, holy cow, I remember being a Cub Scout and doing the Pinewood Derby and the Space Derby and those things. Those were competitions.
Yep.
When I was in school, I was in sports. They were competitions. I was in music. That was a competition. Everything was a competition because you wanted to be the best, and your incentive was, if I want to get the rewards or the awards, I have to work hard to be better. And sometimes you won, sometimes you lost, but that was all part of learning how the world works. And so I think we as a society, Zeb, have to incorporate these things for our children in other areas of their lives if they're not getting it in the school system.
One last point this morning, and I've only got about 3.5 minutes left, but, man, I was a little bit more than upset this morning that the House and Boehner and the rest of the reps didn't sit back and say that they were going to haggle a little bit and fight a little bit instead of passing a clean debt ceiling bill, basically giving Obama a blank checkbook until 2015. Go spend whatever you want there, Barack. We don't care. Are you as mad about this as I am?
Oh, absolutely. The Republican Party is done as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I left the Republican Party back in the 90s when they refused to convict Clinton of perjury. And I said, enough, you people will, they circle the wagons, they protect their own little power base in Washington. But this is absolutely the end. And Boehner and McCarthy and Cantor and all these people, all these establishment types need to go. They need to be replaced, and we need to send a very strong message to Washington that we're not going to put up with it. And that's why, I know I'm a broken record, Zeb, but that's why this upcoming election is so critical. We have to send a message to Washington that says we're taking our country back, and we send that message by strong actions on the against the Republican Party, so that they understand that they either behave the way we, the citizens, want, or we will replace them.
By the way, that leads me into my final thought. I remember vividly one program way back before Christmas, and I said that we needed to get rid of all these nincompoops, and you said, well, I won't call them names, but I agree with you. But however, after your latest blog, as I looked at the last paragraph, you said, quote, have you found candidates with which we can replace these weasels? Good heavens, you're starting to be more like me.
Yes, you're rubbing off on me, Zeb. I do think weasels fit. Well, weasels might be an insult to weasels, so I probably shouldn't say that. But my problem, my name-calling issue really isn't about things like that as much as when people do personal attacks and say somebody is fat or they look funny or something like that. Yeah. I am absolutely opposed to that because that's exactly what the left does, and so I stand against that. But I don't stand against using terms that have been in the vernacular for years used to describe certain actions like a weasel has. So,
I totally agree.
But in many ways, yes, you do rub off on me. There's no doubt about that, good friend.
I had to throw that in. I just wouldn't have been doing my job if I overlooked that, my dear friend. God bless you.
No, you're right. You're right.
No, we're both right, because quite frankly, we have got to change things. And if you and I in our conversations can do anything to wake up America and the public to get involved and be involved with information and know more about what's going on, so be it. Doug, listen, it's been a treat having you back on the air. The very best of God's blessings to you. And if you get a chance, call me sometime. We'll sit and visit off the air.
Sounds great, Zeb. Good to be back, and I will talk to you again soon. You have a great week.
Thanks, Doug. You too. Doug Johnson, Colorado, one of my favorite people to have on the air. Very, very astute with all things political. Thank you very much. You know, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, you do think of those things, don't you? Well, you should, because you need to be protected. You, your family, your business. Well, you better get a hold of Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Yep, they're located right there on Highway 24 in Rupert. Telephone number to call while you're thinking about it, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. You give them a call right now. It's Valentine's Day weekend. Friday's Valentine's Day. I got to figure out what I'm going to get Deanne. I got to get her something. Holy cow. Well, I know a great place to go, and that's Whipple's Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley, 678-2505 with Colonel Dale. What a nice man. And by the way, if you mention that you heard this ad for the Whipple's Book Plaza right here on Zebeth Ranch, you'll get 10% off your purchase. That's right. Check it out. Art supplies, books. Have they got 3 floors of books and all the candle sets. The Book Plaza has it all right there, and they're also the home of the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Happy Valentine's Day. And, oh, by the way, for Valentine's Day, now listen to this. Don't know what to get your lovey for a present? Well, how about this? You just go home, husbands, and you say, dear, you're not going to cook tonight. I'm going to take you to Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. And she'll go, really? What are we going to have? And he'll say, your choice, dear, of prime rib or shrimp or chicken pasta with creamy Alfredo sauce. Well, then she's going to look at you with kind of a dreamy-eyed look and say, I'll be ready in 5 minutes. You're going to love the meals. The prime rib, au jus, horseradish, sour cream, butter, baked potato, choice of a side, dinner roll for just $15.99. Holy buckets, she's going to love you. If you take her out for Valentine's Day to Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. All of a sudden, my little chimes go off on my phone. It's Gina. You know, she has no idea what she does to my heart when all of a sudden these little noise and different things go on over here. I have no clue sometimes where to look. It scares me half to death. Okay, tell Ben to hang on. I'm a-coming. Hey, don't forget the big President's Day sale. Next Monday, oh my goodness, Lee's Furniture, Floors and More will be wide open, and you can check on all the carpet. You can check on sofas and love seats. You can check on occasional table sets. You can check on all the hardwood flooring. You can check on all your accessories. What are you waiting for? Put it on your day planner right now. 6 months interest-free financing available at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're waiting to serve you for the big President's Day sale at Lee's Furniture. All right, let's go right to the microphone. Yeah, let's go right to the telephone. She says, keep it out of your pocket. Well, no, it makes too much noise. Thank you. Good morning, Ben Cole with the Institute for Energy Research. How are you?
Zeb, you're always a bright spot in my week when I get to talk to you. How are you?
In other words, you laugh at me, and that really makes me feel kind of low and down. And
not at all. Look, it is so good to talk to somebody outside of Washington, D.C. that doesn't breathe this air. So it's refreshing, trust.
Ben, how did a good old country boy from Texas, where did you ever take enough medication to say in Washington, D.C.? You must be getting sick by now.
Well, we make something in Texas called Shiner Bock. It's one of the best beers you'll ever drink, and if you consume enough of it, you'll end up in Washington, D.C. and not figure out how you got here.
Shiner Bock? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's a Texas-based beer, but no, I mean, I decided I wanted to come here back in 2008, and ended up, getting a job for Darrell Issa, and I was working for him for a while, and decided to stay here because I thought I could make a difference, and I feel like we are. Somebody's got to be here and do the dirty work, so I kind of feel like Mike Rowe sometimes. This is dirty jobs, and so here we work in Washington.
Yeah, but now...
It's dirty, but somebody has to do it.
I got to find out sometime in the future, away from the radio, I got to find out more about this Shiner Bock beer. It sounds to me like some kind of a product from Willie Nelson over at Lukenbach, Texas. That's what it sounds like.
it may have some additives from Willie in it. I don't know.
All right, I got to get to the business at hand here this morning. And Ben, why? What is the hang-up? What is going on if we've got former Interior Secretary Ken Salazar saying, win-win, Keystone? If we've got former Energy Secretary Stephen Chu saying, it's nothing but political, everything else looks good, but yet the president is still staying in the weeds and not signing for Keystone. What's going on?
I want to know where they were the first term. I want to know why they weren't advocating it in the first term. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. All of a sudden now that They're going out and looking for clients and running around the country, hoping for people to pay them to lobby on certain issues. They're going to come out in support of something that more than 70% of the American people support, and everybody recognizes with any common sense that it's good for our country. I think it's very disingenuous of them. I mean, I'm glad they said it, but it's too little too late as far as I'm concerned. Where were they advocating and pushing in the administration for this?
Ben,
it'll be interesting as we see 2016 roll around. Hillary Clinton even said that the Keystone Pipeline was a good deal back before they decided it wasn't a good deal. So it seems like everyone but John Kerry and Barack Obama can see the obvious economic potential and benefit to our country from building the Keystone Pipeline. So, but you know what the fact is? I think they see it too.
Okay,
I think at the end of the day, the same thing that Ken Salazar is doing right now, raising money for himself by saying that he supports the Keystone Pipeline now. That's the same thing Barack Obama's doing. He's out raising money for his campaign and for this midterm election by forestalling a decision on the Keystone Pipeline, because the moment he says what everyone knows is already true, the pipeline of money from folks like Tom Steyer and the green energy radicals on the left, that will totally shut off. So it really, at this point, Stephen Chu's right. It's all about politics. That's all it's been about. This is the political football, and the problem is that it's not a game. We're talking about thousands of jobs that are going uncreated. We're talking about more oil that we're bringing in from hostile OPEC regimes. We're talking about delayed opportunities for our economy, or completely denied opportunities for our economy. And it really is phenomenal to see the crass and craven way that this administration, particularly the president and now John Kerry, have dealt with this. You know, Zeb, we just had the 5th environmental impact statement for this Keystone Pipeline. All of them have basically not been able to find any negative environmental impacts, substantive or warranting closure or cancellation or denial of the Keystone Pipeline permit. We ended World War II. We started and ended World War II, our involvement in it, in a short amount of time, and it's taken this administration to assess the environmental impact of one pipeline and make a decision on it.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. It's just incredible.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to show some ignorance here because I was not aware that the Secretary of State had that much power in a yes and no answer over the Keystone Pipeline. I can understand the Secretary of Interior, but why the Secretary of State?
Well, it's because it's an international pipeline. Interstate pipelines fall under a different jurisdiction, but when a pipeline crosses an international border, our laws are set up so that it becomes an issue for the Department of State to do the environmental impact statements. Now, there's some question about whether or not that's the appropriate place for that decision to be made, and there have been proposals in the last 5 years to try to move pipeline permitting authorities from the Department of State, international pipeline permitting authorities from the Department of State, to organizations, federal regulatory agencies that deal with pipelines all the time. It may make more sense to do that, but certainly we've been caught up in a political tailspin right now, and it doesn't seem that there's any problem with any of the environmental impact statements that have previously come out. The first one was just fine. The second one was just fine. The third one, they've all been just fine. They've gotten a little weaker and a little weaker as we've gone on, but they've only watered down the degree to which they say there's no impact. So the Department of State has it just simply because this one crosses an international border, which is why, if you remember, the president went down to Cushing, Oklahoma, during his 2012 re-election effort, and stood in front of all these stacked pipelines and said, "I'm going to fast track the southern end of the Keystone Pipeline. We're going to build this pipeline from Cushing, Oklahoma, which is sort of the pipeline crossroads of America, and we had a bottleneck of oil supplies there. To get that pipeline built down to the Gulf Coast, to carry that oil that was bottlenecked in Oklahoma, to take it to the Gulf Coast refineries." And the president acted as if he had anything to do with it. He didn't have anything to do with it. The permitting for the southern leg of the pipeline, because it doesn't cross an international border, it's simply traveling from Oklahoma to Texas, was an issue for the Army Corps of Engineers. That pipeline was constructed, it was permitted, it was constructed, and oil is now flowing through the southern end of the Keystone Pipeline. The portion that is in dispute now is the portion that would bring that oil from Alberta in Canada down through the Midwest, connect up at Cushing, and take it on to those Gulf Coast refineries where we could refine it into a usable product.
Do you think a lot of the problem, Ben, is that the American public is either naive or not informed? I have seen numerous letters in the last couple of weeks that have appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the USA Today, and other national papers. People think, well, this is the first-of-a-kind pipeline coming down from Canada and or crossing the middle section of our country. There are hundreds and literally thousands of different pipelines, but yet the American public seems naive, like this is the first one and it's going to be an environmental disaster.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that it's the American public, because an overwhelming majority of the American public supports the development of the Keystone Pipeline in poll after poll after poll. What you see when you read these op-eds that are being selectively placed around the country to try to bring influence to bear, it is a part of a well-organized and well-funded campaign of the environmental left to try to create as much opposition, or the sense of as much opposition to the Keystone Pipeline as they possibly can. So just because they pop up in these places doesn't mean that somehow this is the American people, because I think the American people actually get it. I think that it's a radical environmental left that either doesn't get it or does get it and has another agenda entirely, which has something much more than energy or the environment in its targets.
In the O'Reilly and Obama interview on Super Bowl Sunday, there was a very important point there, and I'm certainly not a Bill O'Reilly fan per se, but I thought he handled it with a short period of time to ask and address the questions to the president. I thought he handled it very well. But in his statement to the president, he said the proposed pipeline would create 42,000 jobs. I have read in numerous places that the pipeline would create 42,000 jobs, but Obama cut in on him, and he said, first of all, I'm quoting, first of all, it's not 42,000, that's not correct, it's a couple of thousand to build the pipeline. Who's not telling the truth here, Ben?
Well, it really depends on how you figure jobs. The problem with the president's accounting of jobs is he wants to count green jobs one way and every other job another way. He wants to count a multiplier effect, so for every actual job you have at a place like Solyndra, his administration said that was going to be about equal of 2.6 jobs, because how those jobs then create wealth in the economy, and the money is transferred and it creates back orders at other suppliers, which creates jobs there. So there's an economic sort of magic that happens in the math that's done on job creation. The president's been more than willing to do that, and do it really despite overwhelming evidence that it doesn't work for his preferred energy sources, like Solyndra and various green energy companies that have gone bankrupt despite having billions of taxpayer dollars pumped into them. What you do see, though, is that when we have the Keystone Pipeline, the direct jobs versus indirect jobs is the question. So you may have, several thousand, 5,000, 6,000 direct jobs created in constructing that pipeline. That's everything from the people that haul the pipeline to the location, to the people that dig to put it underground, the people that connect whatever wires are necessary, all the way down the line of everybody that's involved. You'd have several thousand jobs. But then you have the multiplier effect, which everyone knows happens. The question is do we know that it will happen in this case? We know that it will because we know that there are people already waiting. There are contracts already ready to be signed. There are some that are already signed to get this thing underway. With the president's pipe dream of his green energy jobs, there was no investors, there was no capital. That's why they had to have taxpayer money. We're talking about a privately funded project that will create private sector jobs that are not dependent upon the U.S. taxpayer, but instead present a benefit to the U.S. taxpayer by more reliable and affordable energy, by increased trade with our closest trade partner, and I can go down the line of the potential benefits. Mm-hmm. Contrast that with where the president's energy priorities have been with job creation, and tell me how many people are still working at Solyndra. Tell me people are still working at the various green energy companies that he's been promoting and pumping and paying with our tax dollars. They're bankrupt. They're closed for business. They've laid off. There's pink slips that have been distributed almost every quarter in this various green energy sector. So I just think it was disingenuous of the president to answer the way that he did. And if O'Reilly had more time, he could have fired back at the president about his claims that his stimulus would create 2 to 3 million jobs. I don't know if you remember that back in 2009. Yeah. We're going to create 2 to 3 million jobs with his stimulus money, and the fact is they didn't create nearly that many. And then they changed the way of speaking about it. They said, well, we're going to create or save 2 to 3 million jobs, and then they wouldn't say create or save. Then they just said we're going to support 2 to 3 million jobs. They constantly were changing the language because the facts on the ground were not bearing out what the president promised in his policies.
Let me ask you this, Ben. How long, in your opinion, time-wise, can the president and even John Kerry hold this thing at bay before making a decision? I mean, there has to be a certain time frame. There has to be some kind of a line of demarcation where they've got to cross it. They've got to make a decision. When is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're now 2,000 days into this decision-making process. It could have been made yesterday. It could have been made a year ago. It could have been made 2 years ago. Yeah. There's no new information that the president needs to make a decision. It is totally in his court. He could do it today, and it would be over and done with, and they would start digging tomorrow. I mean, that's the reality. The way the law is constructed is it requires a presidential permit to build an international pipeline. And as long as this president's in the White House, we're not going to get that law rewritten because I think he enjoys holding on to that power. It's the trump card he's had up his sleeve now well into his second term. So how long? I think basically we're looking for a new administration. Our president here, Thomas Pyle, he's gone on record saying that he just thinks it's totally a charade at all. There's no chance he's going to build this thing. Every time there's some new environmental impact statement, you have some of the oil and gas companies saying, great, this is wonderful, looks like we're going to have a pipeline built, but then nothing happens. So here around the Institute for Energy Research, we're somewhat skeptical that anything's going to get done on it while this president is in office, unless he's forced to do it on a piece of must-pass legislation. And so there's, like the debt limit, will they attach Keystone to that? There's always a question of whether they'll put the permit into a piece of must-pass legislation. But at this moment, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and we don't hold out much hope that the president's going to somehow see the light, step into the sunshine, and make a decision that has the best interest of the American people at its heart.
Ben, one final thought here. During the State of the Union address, he made some really direct statements about money being redirected back into green energy, wind and solar, and it was in the form of a demand. That's the way it's going to be, regardless of what anybody else thinks. How often do we have to keep beating a dead horse before we realize, as a general public, the money's not well spent? It's a waste of money, and why aren't more people, senators, congressmen, etc., upset to the point where they're saying, no, Mr. President, that's enough?
Look, here's what I think. I think continuing to pay subsidies to wind and solar is like continuing to send a Social Security check to someone who's already dead.
Yes.
I mean, it is and what you have is you have family members cashing the money and running away with it, but it's taxpayers that are funding it. So, I mean, the subsidies don't work. They are not supporting the industry. They only serve to fill the pockets of the wealthy financiers who have got these things going only on the promise of taxpayer-funded support. So how much longer? The president is committed that that's what he's going to do, and he has certain discretions within the executive budget of how they'll do it, through various loan guarantees and grants that can be awarded through the various federal agencies, through permitting preferences that are done at the Department of Interior. There's tons of ways that he can continue to grease the skids, both with money and with preference, policy preference, and with permitting preferences through the various federal agencies. And he has said he's going to do it. And you know what? Under our Constitution, he has those authorities. He is the chief executive, and he has a responsibility over the executive branch. And there's a very limited number of things that we can do except for continue to point out the problems with this, continue to demonstrate how the president's policies do not have the desired or claimed effect that he said that they would when he ran on them, and then continue to convince the American people that there is a better and brighter way to secure America's future, to supply our country with a stable and affordable supply of energy that we need, and to move our country forward rather than backward into technologies that are unproven, undeveloped, and cannot meet the electricity and energy demands that we have in the United States.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, during the day, a spokesman for the Institute of Energy Research, and in the after hours in the evening, the poster boy for Shinerbach Beer out of Texas, Ben Cole. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Deb. Good to talk to you.
God bless you, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Really enjoy Ben on the program. He has the answers about what's going on with energy, and there is absolutely no excuse. No excuse. None. Except political and environmental, to where the environmentalists have got their hands in their pockets handing Obama a lot of money. There's no reason, as former Interior Secretary Ken Salazar said, it's a win-win thing for America. We should be doing it. And even a man like former Secretary of Energy Stephen Chu, remember, he was the guy that said he'd like to see gas go to $8, $9, and $10 a gallon. He even has said it's nothing more than political. It's not scientific. It should be done. But yet our illustrious president, and I use the term loosely, will not sign the go for the Keystone Pipeline. Won't do it. Won't do it. Time for Michael Rogers' weather update. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. The National Weather Service in Boise and Pocatello has put out minor flooding possible across parts of southwest Idaho and also southeast Oregon. What does that mean for you? With the amount of rain that's going to be taking place between today all the way through Sunday, and also you can top that with snowmelt, minor flooding could be arranged around your area, small creek ditches. Nothing as far as river rising, but you're going to see a significant amount of rain all the way through the weekend going into the beginning of next week. That being said, rain in the forecast. The daytime highs will be in the upper 40s to low 50s. The warmest of the day will take place right around Sunday. You're looking for possibly a daytime high of 55. Saturday, daytime high 56. Friday also, daytime high 55. So enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you, Michael. Excellent job. By the way, Valley-Wide Home and Ranch is having a lovebird sale. Oh, yeah, they are. They are. Come on over by the radio a little closer so that you can get all this information for your lovey on Valentine's Day. You can go in and register possibly to win a lovebird evening for two. Oh, yeah. $50 gift certificate and a one-night stay at the historic downtown Drift Inn in Rupert for two. Yeah, really. Great dining, great place to stay. You're going to love it. And at the Valley-Wide Home and Ranch in Rupert, all the clothing and jewelry and belts and slippers, 25% off. They've got all kinds of birdhouses and feeders, 25% off. Now's the time to get in there for the lovebird sale at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Oh, my goodness, time for some calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear from you. One thing I wanted to mention. Tomorrow on the program, or wait a minute, today I've got State Senator Steve Baer coming on at 10:30, and we're going to be discussing this bill that was written by Jim Patrick to protect agriculture from all these crackpots and weirdos coming onto your property and trying to film what they call and or say is animal cruelty. I'm not asking, I'm basically, and I know this sounds forceful, but I'm telling everybody to call your state senators and call your representatives and absolutely tell them to support the bill that Jim Patrick said and has written that would not let these people on your property to possibly denigrate and stop animal agriculture. I do not trust, and I have every reason to believe I'm right, the Humane Society of the United States, PETA and other groups. I have, over the many years in the rodeo business, seen and have watched and have ascertained exactly how ugly the HSUS can be with the alteration of films and different things and editing to make something look far, far worse than it ever was in the first place. I don't trust these people, and I think Jim Patrick and his bill needs to get passed, and we're going to do quite a dissertation on that at 10:30 this morning. These people that come onto property and film and say, well, that's animal abuse. That's animal abuse. They don't know. Most all of them, and I would say almost 98% of these people have no clue about the animal industry and animal agriculture. And they are out to stop anything with the use of animals. I said use. And whether that's a sheep show, whether it's a 4-H or FFA livestock show, whether it's a horse show. I know for a fact that they've gone after horse shows. I know for a fact that they've made a lot of money in their coffers trying to stop the rodeo business. And you give these people a toe in the door, and they will shut you down. That's why I'm supporting Jim Patrick and his bill to not let these people anywhere close to your property without permission whatsoever. And then there was a letter to the editor this morning. I got to find that. It really upsets me. Unknowledgeable person right there in Twin Falls. And her name was Amber Halsell of Twin Falls, and she said, "Ag gag, how typical of our lawmakers to introduce a bill that condemns whistleblowers who expose animal cruelty." Well, wait a minute there, Amber, you have no clue what you're talking about. And expose animal cruelty to up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine, yet the weak and ineffective animal cruelty law they passed in 2012 makes it a misdemeanor to actually abuse animals. That's not true. Let's make sure we make statements that are real. And she said, so the person doing the right thing by coming onto somebody's property and making a film and maybe having a grudge against that person or whatever is the right thing? Please, Amber, you're embarrassing yourself. And the person abusing the animal gets a slap on the wrist in our legal system. What's wrong with this picture? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong is people that are unknowledgeable, that have never been around a cow, a horse, a pig, or whatever. That is what is scary, because they're trying to set the rules. Many times on this program, I remember we've had Dave Roper on, as Dave was talking about various aspects of agriculture, to where these people, the unknowledgeables, are trying to change it to where it was actually more detrimental and dangerous to the animals than it ever was before. They don't know, they don't understand. But their main purpose is not protecting the animal. Their main purpose is to shut down animal usage. Don't forget Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays, and they got the biggest selection of side-by-sides at Let's Ride in the entire state of Idaho. Holy smokes, those are neat looking! And they've got all their ATVs on sale. Spring's right around the corner. You better get in there and make a good deal. And don't forget they got dirt bikes for the young at heart, and they still have snowmobiles, and all the watercrafts are starting to come in already. Can you believe that? And an absolutely great parts and service department. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 6. You stop over and say hello. Gina, I haven't had hardly any time this morning to visit with you. How are you, by the way?
I am doing well. I've just been kind of playing around with Conway Kitty.
With who?
Conway Kitty, our station cat.
Oh, what kind of a cat is it?
A Muttley cat that came from my backyard.
Muttley cat.
Well, I don't know what kind of a cat he is, but he's black and white, and he's adorable, and he was adopted by the station, so he lives here now.
So he just kind of lives there at the station,
yeah.
And everybody has to be really careful when opening and closing the doors that old Conway doesn't head for the pasture.
Well, yeah, that, and we always have to make sure that when we leave, all of the studio doors are closed, because, frankly, he's not a very good DJ. He tries, but he's not good.
Uh-huh. Okay. And how long has the cat taken up residence there?
Let's see here. He's been here since August.
Really? And Kim Lee, the owner, doesn't matter that he's operating. I got a great joke, but I can't use it.
No, don't go there.
Never mind. I'm going to let that one go because Kim would drive off the road in the ditch. My.
Because, of course, Cat Country 106, and so the cat needed a mascot.
Well,
so
certainly.
That's how Conway came into the picture. And so we had a big old promotion with him on Name the Station Cat, and that's how we came up with Conway Kitty.
I love that Conway Kitty.
Yep, Conway Kitty. And so I've just been kind of playing around with him today, so keeping him occupied and out of everybody else's hair, because he is kind of my responsibility. I'm mom. So I got to keep him occupied. It
would have been kind of fun, though, to go ahead with what I was going to say just a moment ago, and then also have a dash camera on Kim Lee in his little sports car as he sailed off the Hanson Bridge.
Sometimes some things are just better left unsaid.
And in my case, it's most of the time.
Yeah, we've got a quick phone call.
Okay, quick phone call. 30 seconds. Go, fast.
Gina, did you know Zeb ordered a cat one time and then he wouldn't pay the boarding bill for that cat when he never come picked it up?
$9,327. I'm not going to pay that money for a cat.
Well, he had to go to therapy and spas, because he was feeling neglected.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'd have to go to therapy. If my wife would force me into therapy if I paid that kind of money for a cat. I got to run to the news, Doug. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it. I'll be back. I will, Doug. Thanks. God bless. Have a good day, everybody. I'll be right back in 6. Don't go away. Gina, everything seems to be crackling. Have you noticed that, or is it just something coming down the wire in my headsets? It's a crackle on the line and kind of a cutoff a little bit when...
I think it's just you.
Well, either that or my headsets or the feed line, because it's really crackling all of a sudden, and I'm not hearing everything. Okay, well, we stated our case. Okay. Good morning. Welcome back. Hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, we're brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with the big Founders Day celebration going on right now. And don't forget some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. You get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Before we have our very famous, world-renowned chili expert on the program in just a moment, I would like to mention to everybody that the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley is ready to serve you today with their special of beef stroganoff with garlic toast. I love garlic toast. And, of course, super salad. All of this is fantabulous. You're going to love it. And then on Friday, Valentine's Day, they're going to have a smoked prime rib with choice of potato, veggies, and soup for just $19.95. And they got a special dinner price for 2 of $29.95. And also a 12-ounce New York steak. Oh, it's going to knock your socks off. It's going to be fantastic. And they're going to have a lot of fun in there on Friday night for Valentine's Day at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see the Chadwick. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I go to the phone lines and I get a chance to talk to one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. He and his lovely wife mean a lot to me. And we're over at Paul, Idaho, talking to Smiling Max Twist. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
I'm enjoying this moisture we're getting.
We're getting a lot of it, and thank the good Lord, whether it's in the form of rain or snow. I'm certainly glad. A lot of people are worried about the moisture for this year for irrigation. Every little bit helps, and I'm glad to see it getting wet outside.
Boy, me too. I am too. But, boy, we've got a celebration coming up. It's a time for the chili feed again. Well, it'll be coming up here on the 22nd of February at 11 a.m. We're going to feed from 11 to 2 p.m. And I want to invite all of us. It's just a customer appreciation day. And anyone that's got a favorite chili recipe, we want to encourage them to come in here and enter in our contest that we'll be having for the chili feed, Zeb.
Okay. Now, let's kind of break this thing down again. How many years have you been putting on this big chili feed?
This is our 15th annual.
Wow. 15 years. 15th annual,
Zeb.
Okay. And there's no energy shortage over in Paul, Idaho, is there?
No, there isn't. We're ready to go.
Well, now, on the 22nd, when do the people that want to enter their chili for some of the prizes that are going to be obtained, when do they have to be over there, and when do they have to get their chili ready?
Well, we like it over here by 10:30 and on that Saturday morning.
Okay.
Because we'll be judging at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And right then we'll just start feeding, and we'll have the judges judge all the chilies, and then we'll just start feeding right after that. And all they would have to do is just contact Amber here at the shop and let us kind of know, but they don't have to. But it would be better if they just let us know if they wanted to enter the contest, and we'll get them so we kind of have an idea that they'll be coming. And that's at they can call her at 438-8444.
Okay. Now, are you going to have like different classifications of chili, like mild and slightly hot, and then maybe the third one would be called Scald Your Throat? What are you going to do?
Yeah, it comes in all stages of that, Zeb, and it's enjoyable, and invariably we've got delicious chilies that come in here. We've seen them year after year, and what they bring in here is it's delicious. You see, I've seen turkey chili. I've seen all kinds of chilies over the year, and from cool to, like you say, scalders.
Well, now, what about the public? Is there a charge for them to come over and eat, Max? How much is it going to be?
Yeah, it's free. It's on me.
Oh, my goodness.
When, to have them come over, we're going to have cinnamon rolls and, and chili.
Oh, Mike. Cinnamon rolls and chili, and are you going to hook up the hose to the fire department to kind of soothe somebody's sore throat?
Whatever it needs to, yeah. We'll have drinks for them, but to where they can cool that themselves.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the prizes that you're going to offer. I understand you're going to give away, what, first, second, and third place?
3 prizes, the first, second, and third place, yes.
Okay.
And we'll start out. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, we're going to have $100 first, 75, and 50.
Oh, my
goodness. First, second, and third places.
Well, now, are you one of those kind of guys that likes that stuff so that when you take a spoonful of that, the steam comes out of your ears, or are you kind of a mild chili man?
No, I take her on the hot side.
You do?
Zeb, I like it a little on the warm side myself. I like the spices and the hot.
Okay. Now tell us, this is all going to be right over there with your location of Les Schwab Magic Valley Tires, right?
Yes, right here in Paul, just off from the stoplight, half a block.
And you're
to the stoplight here in Paul, where we've been here forever, and it's a fun time for us.
Okay, so folks, it's coming up on the 22nd of February, a great big chili cook-off. If you'd like to enter your chili in the contest, you got to be there by 10:30. They're going to judge at 11, and then they'll start serving food, and it's all free, the chili, the cinnamon rolls. And are you going to be wearing an apron going around serving everybody?
Well, I don't know if I have an apron on, but I'll be around here. I'll see that they get served. You bet.
Well, I commend you.
And also, we've got the great deals on these tires now, too. That's Founders Day sale, this month, and it's a good time to look for tires. Spring's coming up.
Hey, Max, let me talk to you about that just a little bit, because I had the occasion. It's been quite some time ago when I used to announce at Prineville Rodeo. Years and years ago, I had an occasion to meet Mr. Les Schwab, and what a super gentleman he was. Did you ever get the chance to know him?
Oh, that'd be just as common as you and I. He would come into our store. He could sit here just like any other customer, and that's the way. And a handshake was all you needed with him. That's what we did when we went from to Les Schwab. Whatever he said, it went that way, and he was a gentleman. That's just exactly the way he was.
Max, it's kind of interesting, his story. He really didn't get involved in the tire business until, quite frankly, later in life, did he?
Yeah, in 52.
So there's still hope. There's still hope.
He had been in some tire businesses, and then he just started out with one small store, and look what we've got today. There's 400 and some.
400 plus. Holy cow. Now, are any of his relatives still operating at the main office up in Prineville?
We've got no. They are not that. They are. He lost his daughter.
Yeah.
That was the one that was going to take over, and then she passed before he did, and so. But we do have some grandchildren in there. Yes, that in the head of it. Yes.
I see. It's an amazing American success story, and there is a book available about his life and how he started the company. Is there not?
Yes, there is. And if they would like one, we can sure get them a book.
Well, by golly, Max, it's really nice to talk to you. By the way, before I let you go, how is your quiet, shy, retiring wife?
Oh, she's getting along pretty good, Zeb. She's had her trials with this sickness she's had, but she's coming along pretty good.
Well, you give her a big hug for us and tell her we said hello, and we're going to send everybody over. I'll keep reminding everybody about this big chili cook-off, February 22nd.
I appreciate the good job you do, Zeb. Thank you.
God bless you, Max. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right, take
Bye-bye.
care. There is one of the nicest individuals and nicest families that I've ever been around, and that's the Twist family over in Paul. And this is going to be a big deal, 15th annual, and big chili cook-off. And if you're pretty good at making chili, for some reason, I don't even know if she makes chili, but Gina, are you a chili maker? She's probably putting the cat down and trying to get the ear sets on. Are you a chili maker?
I haven't made chili in a long time. I do love chili. I like to make it. I just haven't done it in a while.
Hey, would you do me a favor and just take the feed pot on my line and kind of just shake it a little bit? I'm still getting that waiver. It just started this hour. It's been perfect every day before now. But if you could just maybe say that, it sounds like there's a little loose wire or a loose connection or something. If you'd check that out for me, I'd sure appreciate it.
You betcha.
I only hear about half of what people have to say. What did you say?
I said, I wonder if it's the moisture in the line because of all the rain.
That's a very good point. And maybe I'll have to get out by where it comes in and connects to my house with a hairdryer or something. Okay.
Yeah, don't let electrocute yourself. No, but do you like the spicy chili? Do you like chili hot?
When I was in my 20s and possibly into my mid-30s, you could give me chili that would start a fire, and then I'd add more of the hot sauce to it. But now that I'm in my 60s, you better not give me anything but extra, extra, extra mild.
Oh, did you burn all of the hot cells off of your tongue or something?
I don't know, but I remember vividly one time my dad came out to visit, and this has been years ago, and we were over at my in-laws' place, and a lady, a very nice Mexican lady, was very astute at making Mexican chili. And my dad leaned over and he asked me, he says, now, is this pretty hot? And I lied to my father. And I said, no, I said, this is just really mild. I said, you ought to put some of that other hot sauce on there, too, just kind of flavor it up a little bit. And the last time I saw my dad was when the chair shot about 10 feet in the air and he took off on the dead run. He never did come back for about 30 minutes.
That is so mean.
Yeah, but it was funny. It was really funny.
Did you have a big old glass of milk waiting for him when he came back?
No, I tell you what, my dad was about 6'1", and he used to be a boxer years ago. He fought. And all I can remember, honestly, is seeing him jump up out of that chair and just start running. And it was kind of like a fish, laying on the dock, trying to inhale all the air. Oh, my gosh, he was burning alive. And some of the things that he told me about my family ancestry when he was yelling at me, I didn't know I was related to some of those people.
See, I can't do the really hot chili. If it makes my face slightly sweat, then that's good enough for me. But if it's to the point where my eyeballs are burning out, way too hot.
Well, and we went someplace here recently within the last couple of years, and we didn't know that the dip, for all the Doritos and everything, was that hot. And I love to go to places and, have what do they call it? Salsa,
yes.
And I just took a Dorito and I just laid it in that thing, and I scooped out a great big bunch and put it in my mouth. And about 10 seconds later, you have never, honestly, I you're talking about Big Ed Beckley not getting the permit to jump the canyon. They couldn't have stopped me that night. Woo!
Oh, and like I said, I like things spicy, but to a point. But overall, I'm kind of a wuss. I don't really do super, super hot foods.
No,
I like my Tabasco, but Tabasco's really not hot to me.
No, Deanne, she can't take that stuff either, and I always kind of lie to her a little bit and say, oh, honey, it's just a piece of cake. It's real mild. And then, of course, she calls me kind of only affectionate names that husbands and wives call each other.
Yes. And she reminds you of all of the people you didn't know that you were related to.
Yeah, but when you get older, I think a lot of people can relate to this. It's funny how all of a sudden your taste buds change.
I know. Mine are getting milder as I get older.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be able to, when I was younger, have a 7-alarm fire, and you'd laugh about it and take a drink of water and keep on eating and sweat a little bit, etc. Holy cow. To be quite frank with you, anything real hot now at my age, it messes me up for about, maybe the whole month of February.
You're self-propelled at that point.
Oh, my. I'll tell you what. I got to say some Valentine's wishes here. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Maybe it is the water on the line because, boy, it's really cutting out on us, huh? The bookstore. Don't forget the bookstore at 515 5th Street in Rupert. Oh, they've got those caramel-filled chocolate hearts. Did you hear? They've got the caramel-filled chocolate hearts. They are so delicious. And they got all the fudge for Valentine's Day, like pralines and cream and peppermint chocolate, cookies and cream, Rocky Road, many, many more. And all your cards, everything for your lovey at the bookstore, 515 5th Street in Rupert, wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. And let's not forget, I love this place. Mad River Laser. They can make anything. Like if you need certain design or slogan on your T-shirts or your jackets or whatever, they can take care of it. And by the way, they're having a clearance sale. They're going to be moving soon to downtown Rupert on the Square, and they've got a great selection of blank and demo T-shirts for under $5. You better get in there and check it out. And all your rubber stamps and your vinyl lettering. They made some excellent steak knives for me, to give away. Zeb at the Ranch steak knives. What a job they do. At Mad River Laser, 700 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. All right, callers, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How about you folks? You like your chili really smoking hot or kind of like mild? Let's take a little survey here. We got about 6 minutes. Let's see how many calls we get. Do you like your hot chili or mild chili? Let's get the calls coming in, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, I'll take it hot. And if you want to try something that's really hot, the next time you eat Chinese food, get a little bit of the red hot sauce that they've got and use it sparingly.
Now, I have never tried that. But I've been sitting with some friends that put it on their food, and they never come back to the table for like 3 days.
Love it, but it is hot.
What's that stuff made out of?
It got a real good flavor. Just use sparingly.
Uh-huh. What is that hot sauce, the Chinese hot sauce, what's that made out of?
It's Chinese chili of some kind. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure the name of it. I just ask them for the red sauce.
Okay, well, I'm going to
put... They bring you a very small dish of it, kind of like they put that hot mustard and stuff in for other things, but, like your pork and seeds. But it is scaping hot if you get a little deep in it.
I agree. We've got one vote for hot chili. Thank you, sir. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, caller number 2, you're on the air. You like your chili hot and smoking or kind of wussy?
I wouldn't say wussy. I'd say mild.
Mild. Okay.
I like to be able to taste stuff after the chili.
Well, you're kind of like I am. I mean, you don't want it that it's going to stay and linger with you from February all the way till July.
Well, most of them that make it hot make it where it lasts from January to December.
I I agree. Hey, God bless you for your call, Rotten. Have a good day. Thanks. There's a vote for mild. Yeah, that's my kind of chili. I got to have the stuff. I love to have chili that is, it's got kind of a little, what kind of, brown sugar in it. I love a little brown sugar in it. And then I like cheese melted in it. And if I want to put a little hot sauce in there, I will. But I don't like it really smoking hot. Well,
I kind of like mine on the medium side, but you've got to have fresh onions, cut onions, with the cheese, and sometimes just a dollop of sour cream.
No, I think that's good. That is good.
Yeah,
I like that. And then graham crackers. Not graham crackers, saltines. Pardon me, saltines.
Yeah. I was thinking graham crackers, Mr. Graham crackers?
No, saltine crackers. And then I never sit down to a table to have chili without being in total preparation with a big glass of milk.
You got to have milk with it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you have to have milk with it. And sometimes if you have it, and I know that I'm pretty sure I gave you a little bit of smoked paprika on top.
Now,
kind of sprinkled just a little bit.
That is good. But no, the caller that called in a few minutes ago and mentioned that Chinese hot sauce, you know, that...
Sriracha sauce. It's the rooster sauce.
It's what?
Sriracha sauce.
Sriracha.
Yes.
And you call it rooster sauce?
Well, if you go to the store and you look at the label, there's a rooster on it, and so it's just a lot easier to say the rooster sauce. But it's got a funny spelling. It's SCH something something, but it's sriracha is the way you pronounce it.
Really?
And it's super hot, and it's like a red chili paste, and then it's got the seeds in it and everything, and I think it's got some habaneros and some hot Asian peppers in it, and so it's hot. It really is hot.
Holy smokes. Honestly, we were out to eat one night with some families, and they had that on their meal, and the wife just stood up, and I thought she was going to have a cardiac arrest right there on the spot.
Yeah, you use that stuff sparingly. When I make my chicken hot wings, I will make, a mild, and then, if people like it spicy, I'll put a little bit more of that in there. But it is a super spicy sauce, and so use it sparingly.
Absolutely. Wow. During the break at 10:30, I'm going to try to figure out if there's something I can do here, because I hear half of what you and the other guests are saying, but here we have a quick caller, and then I'll send it back over to you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, me again. You were talking about the crackers. Something we really like. Try a few Fritos, regular Fritos in the bottom of your bowl. Put chili in on top of it. Real good. Good Fritos.
Okay, hot or mild? What's your favorite?
Hot.
Okay, I got you down for hot.
Like I said a minute ago, I'm the guy that was talking about the red Chinese sauce.
Okay, buddy. Hey, thanks for your call. I do appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Fritos on the bottom. That does sound good. Oh, caller, cook quickly. Good morning. We got about 2 minutes left.
Okay, I like it real mild because I don't like to scorch my shorts.
Well, it's not that. You're a prime example of what happens when you eat hot chili. You lost all the hair on your head.
I refuse to answer. Fifth Amendment.
Bye, Al.
Bye.
I mean, it was a terrible fire. The guy was standing there, and he was burning up instead of burning down. Boy, it was taking every hair off his head. He's shiny as can be right now. Proof, absolutely proof. Well, we're going to take a little break right now, and then we're going to come back with State Senator Steve Baer from the 28th District of Idaho up in the Blackfoot area, and we're going to talk about this ag bill and how certain individuals and groups are trying to, what they say, expose agriculture. We're going to have Steve on. And then tomorrow, just a little bit ago, we made connection with the author of the Stopping These People from Coming Onto Your Property, Jim Patrick, is going to be on the air in the first hour tomorrow, so don't miss it. We got a lot to follow up on. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244. or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. Our last half hour, Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Thank you very much. And right now we're going to go to the phone lines. And I just talked to this gentleman the other day and asked him if he could come on our program and talk about agriculture and the new bill that's out, basically, to reject whistleblowers from coming onto your property and trying to ascertain as to whether or not they think there's been animal cruelty. And I've got State Senator Steve Baer on the phone with us from the 28th District of Idaho up by Blackfoot. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's actually, since redistricting, District 31, Bingham County.
I apologize. Thank you very much. Thank you. Steve, you're one of the sponsors of this bill against the Humane Society of the United States and against people coming onto people's property and trying to film, etc. Give me your reasoning as to why you think this is bad for HSUS, Humane Society of the United States, and others to basically have a freeway to do what they want, film what they want, and try to incriminate who they want.
Well, to me, this is more of a property rights issue to me. As we are guaranteed in our Constitution, both our state and our federal Constitution, the right to property and the right to own property and to protect our property. When law enforcement when they have probable cause that something is going wrong on your personal property, they go to a judge, they get a warrant, and then they're able to come and gather evidence. Here we have individuals, and this goes way past just HSUS. We have individuals who are against agriculture as a whole, who want to come onto private property under false pretenses, and they want to be able to film and to gather evidence illegally, and then actually sometimes the evidence doesn't even get turned into law enforcement. It just ends up being put on the internet, and then we end up in a court of public opinion as opposed to a judicial court.
Steve, in your history, now you're in the farming business up in Blackfoot, are you not?
I was until just a couple of years ago. We retired.
Okay, well, with your history of agriculture and knowing all about the different facets of agriculture in the United States, especially animal agriculture, has been under attack for years by people and groups like the HSUS and PETA, etc., and they've gone overboard in trying to cancel horse shows, and they've gone overboard in trying to cancel 4-H and FFA and various other events, especially the business I've been connected to for the last 42 years, the rodeo business with the PRCA. These people, if you give them an inch, they will take a mile, and they will do anything to bend the truth so that it fits their format. Would you agree with me?
I do agree with you.
And explain why.
Well, I think that I'm not sure that their motives are absolutely pure. They'll say that sometimes it's about animal cruelty, but if that were really truly the case, Zeb, they would upon viewing and observing the animal cruelty, they'd take their pictures or their video, and then they'd immediately turn it into law enforcement.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes information and videotapes are gathered over long, extended periods of time, and then sometimes they're not even ever turned into local law authorities.
And Steve, here's a question that I'll ask you as a state senator, and I'm going to have Jim Patrick on the air tomorrow morning at 8:30. How do you define animal cruelty? It's in the eye of the beholder. I don't care if it's a horse training operation. Horses are like kids. They need to be reprimanded so that they and the riders do not get hurt and they don't do something that's going to cause an accident or injury. It doesn't make any difference if it's the horse business. Doesn't make any difference if you're showing a 1,200-pound steer at the foyer. It doesn't make any difference where or when you're around livestock. The protection of the animal and the human being are of utmost importance, but a lot of people don't understand the definition of what they think is cruelty. Would you agree with that statement?
You know, I do, and I think that problem extends in large part from the fact that we are literally, as a society, sometimes generations away from the farm and from the soil. Folks don't have an understanding of agriculture and what it takes to move cattle through an alleyway when you're trying to get them vaccinated and when you're trying to get them treated to maintain their health. They are oftentimes practically immovable, and you have to use some methods in order that don't appear to be very animal friendly in order to get those animals to move.
Well, let's just take, and I'm going to be very blunt and explicit here, we have an open arena, and you get a bunch of Corianti steers that don't want to go in the alleyway, and they're just thrashing and crashing, and maybe they're beating up against one or two that's holding up the whole line. You go get a hot shot, you move them in with one little burp, just like that. Instead of going to get a great big chunk of wood and beating on them and everything else, you've solved the problem. But see, this is the relationship to the not knowledgeable people that represent HSUS and others. I, for years, Steve, have seen and been witness to what they're trying to do to stop the rodeo business, and quite frankly, the rodeo business is probably the most governed and most regulated for the best case scenario of care to the animal of anything going on in the world today.
Well, I think you're right. You know, we see videos of animals, dairy cows or any other cow that the animal is down and can't get up. The problem is if that animal happens to be in an alleyway that other cows have to go through in order to get to the milking barn, you can't let that animal lie. It would be cruel, in my opinion, to let that animal lie in the alleyway and herd cows over the top of it. You have to remove them. Arguably, the strongest muscle on that animal is its neck, and to put a rope or some device around its neck to move that animal out of the way so it doesn't get trampled seems to be very humane to me.
Absolutely. Now, Steve, let me ask you this, and I'm going to show a little naivete on this because I'm not sure what happened. Originally, wasn't the bill that was written, wasn't that numbered 1298, and was it changed to Senate Bill 1337? Give me a background on that.
Yeah, that is correct. We had a bill that was ready to go. We found a slight change that needed to be made, more of a clerical error than anything, and so we redrafted the bill and brought 1337. They are essentially the same bill.
Okay, now, what is the other side doing, especially up in the Boise Valley? I mean, are they doing any kind of a public relations spin against this? What are they doing to try to stop the passage of this bill?
Well, we had our Senate Ag Committee hearing yesterday, and I'm the Senate Ag Chairman. We purposefully allowed a three-hour time period yesterday morning from 8 until 11 in the Lincoln Auditorium, which holds 250 people, and we spent the entire time talking about this bill, and we allowed both sides the opportunity to present testimony. At the end of the day, it passed out of committee on a 7-1 vote, and probably tomorrow or the next day it'll hit the Senate floor, and we'll have a debate and a discussion and a vote on the Senate floor. What they are doing, although I've not seen them, there are a number of advertisements on TV. I understand during the Olympics they're running the ads that are quite graphic. Mr. Betancourt knew that he would be the poster boy and has chosen to allow that to happen. He knew it would happen, that his name would be had for the worst. Mm-hmm. But the bill just has to be passed in order to protect property rights. Additionally, legislators have received literally hundreds of emails. I've received too many to count.
So what do you think right now, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you were to be the Vegas odds promoter on whether this bill passes or not, what are your thoughts? Is it going to pass?
In my opinion, I think it will. I think it'll pass the Senate with a supermajority type of vote, and I think it'll go through the House as well with that type of a vote. And I think, and the governor has already indicated in the press that he would sign the bill, and I think we stand a very good chance of passage.
Well, I certainly hope so, and kudos to you for having the backbone and the spine on behalf of many other senators to stand up and say, wait a minute, when we start turning things over to activists that are going to legislate how we use animals or how we don't even have animals, the whole world's going to be in a turmoil. So God bless what you're doing up there, and stay firm, and keep in touch and come back on the program again in the future if you would.
Well, thank you, Zeb. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the bill.
All right. State Senator Steve Baer from the 31st District. I got to get that correct. God bless you, and I'll be in touch. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Zeb.
All righty. Thank you much. Ladies and gentlemen, just listen to me for a minute on this. We do not need, in any aspect of animal agriculture or 4-H or FFA, or the horse industry, doesn't make any difference what. We do not need activists that haven't got a clue to be the people or the groups that regulate animal usage. No way. And so I heartily urge you to call your senators up at the State House, Dean Cameron, Lee Hyder, anybody, and tell them to vote yes for 1337, Senate Bill 1337, and tell these activists to take a very, very long and possibly unpleasant walk down a very short pier. Please do that for me, please. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while we're waiting for your phone calls that I know are coming in, please, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. The National Weather Service in Boise and Pocatello has put out minor flooding possible across parts of southwest Idaho and also southeast Oregon. What does that mean for you? With the amount of rain that's going to be taking place between today all the way through Sunday, and also you can top that with snowmelt, minor flooding could be arranged around your area, small creek ditches. Nothing as far as river rising, but you're going to see a significant amount of rain all the way through the weekend, going into the beginning of next week. That being said, rain in the forecast. The daytime highs will be in the upper 40s to low 50s. The warmest of the day will take place right around Sunday. You're looking for possibly a daytime high of 55. Saturday, daytime high 56. Friday also daytime high 55. So enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I want to talk a little bit more about this bill and how these people, the Humane Society of the United States, PETA and others, these offshoot radical groups, I remember vividly, I'm not going to mention the rodeo or the location or who was in charge and what happened, basically, but short synopsis. They tried to stop a rodeo I was at in California. And they came out, and I think the group was about 30 people, and they had pickets, and they were laying down in the road, and they wouldn't let the traffic come into the rodeo grounds and everything else. And the stock contractor at that time went over to the group, and he said, okay, you're trying to stop our event, but I want to take the time, and I want to take each and every one of you and go through each and every pen, show you the horses, show you the bulls, show you the calves, show you the steers, show you the equipment, everything else, and then we'll sit and talk. And you know, the honest truth was that after he took about 30 minutes of taking these people and showing and answering their questions, some of them left that group and bought tickets to go to the rodeo and became very good fans because they were unknowledgeable, basically stupid to the facts. But they were amongst activists that always want to shut something down. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Deb. You know, it surprises me that they would think that people are going to abuse animals when it's the livelihood, be it cattle industry, dairy industry, rodeos, whatever. It's like a truck driver buying a brand new truck and going and just beating the holy living crap out of it. It's not. you can't do that because that's your livelihood. You cannot do that.
You know, and Riley, you bring up such a really good point that needs to be said here. With the price of livestock today, and I'll use my business that I've been involved in for over 40 years, the rodeo business. Bucking horses going for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. Bulls going for $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 one head. You are not going to have some Nimrod out there trying to hurt those animals. They live a very cushy life. At the most, they're in the arena maybe 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes a year when you figure 8 seconds per time. And believe me, they get the best of everything: feed, veterinary care, etc. The investment factor is so supreme, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, you know, I ran into some people that way too. You know, they're hating rodeo and how abusive it is, but they don't stop and look at it that this animal is going to bring money to this guy. He is not going to go out and just hurt it, intentionally hurt it.
That's right.
To the point where it can't be used anymore. Like you're saying, you can't just go out and buy a professional bucking horse or professional bucking bull, or even your roping steers. They cost you pretty penny.
Oh, yeah,
they're not just something that you can go down to your local livestock sale and pick up.
That's right. And the point should be made that I don't care if it's the dairy industry, I don't care if it's the beef industry, I don't care if it's the sheep business, the pork business, the horse business. It doesn't make any difference. I'll go back, and what I said a moment ago is the way I feel is right. You cannot let activists that basically are naive and very uneducated about the caring and the welfare of animals dictate how you do your business. You got to draw a line in the sand and say no, and that's why I'm very much in support of Senate Bill 1337.
Yeah, and I am too, and that's where it goes back to the saying, is an idiot will starve to death if you let him push you around.
There you go. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yep. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, it was, what was it? Deanne's out in the other room. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. Had some very good friends over here, and we were roping. It was on a Sunday afternoon. All of a sudden, a car pulls up in my driveway, just drove right in, parked right next to the arena, and about 4 or 5 ladies in the car started taking pictures, etc. And I rode over and I said, "Who are you?" "Well, we're from Sun Valley area, and they belong to some animal rights activity up there, and they were just going around the area, and they were just taking pictures and videos." And I said, "Get off my property right now, or I am going to call the police." And the one, of course, well, if you don't have anything to hide, you wouldn't be so nervous. "No, I don't want you on my property." These people have no clue. And to be so brazen as to come right onto your property, standing there leaning against the fence, shooting these videos that can be reconstructed, edited to show anything they want them to show, in negativity to shut something down. I hope this bill, 1337, goes through. Good luck. All right, give me a call. I still have some time left, and while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to talk a little bit about the Founders Celebration with Mr. Les Schwab. As you heard, Max had a chance to visit with Mr. Schwab before his passing. He was just such a nice man to sit there and look you in the eye and visit with you. I really enjoyed him. In honor of Mr. Les Schwab Founders Celebration, they are really having some great tire buys over there at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget they've got the best tire value promise in the industry, the best brake value promise in the industry, and along with all the great tires and front end alignments, shocks and struts and brakes, also they've got some specials right now, $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4. All of this and more going on at the Founders Celebration at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, how are you?
I'm good. What can I do for you?
I was just going to put in my 2 cents about this dog shooting over in Filer and wondered what you had to think about the whole situation.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know all the particulars. I've read what the paper has said and everything, but I'm just wondering, on my property, and I'm assuming, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't followed the story like I should with all the other stories I do on a national level. If that dog is on my property and he's protecting that property from a stranger that is there for some unbeknownst reason, and a policeman pulls out a pistol to shoot the dog, I'm going to go after the police officer and the police force in a lawsuit.
Yes. I've watched the entire video several times and slowed it down, paused it, tried to, make sure that I wasn't missing anything. And from my opinion of the whole situation was, the dogs were over there. He opens the door. The dogs weren't barking at that point, and you can hear him swat at the dogs and yelling, "Get back!" And that's when they got aggressive. But you kick a sleeping dog, you're going to get bit.
Absolutely. And I can...
my 2-year-old has common sense to not swat at the dog.
Absolutely.
It's not... It didn't need to escalate to that point. That guy went there, in my opinion, with already a set in his mind that guy was in the wrong. Whether his dogs was at large is immaterial at this point. This guy escalated the situation. He had a billy club there. He could have used it. That's way less lethal. You know what? That's more of an abuse thing. But, hey, if he was really, honestly, truly in fear of his life, there was alternate ways of going about it. All these officers now carry tasers. He could have tased the dog. He could have hit his siren to notify the people inside that he couldn't get out of his car if he was honestly afraid for his life.
Absolutely.
But the first thing he did, he walks out, he starts kicking at the dog, yelling at the dog. Of course, I don't blame the dog a bit.
Well, let me relate a story to you real quickly, and then I'll take another call. But when my son Jake, and you know my son Jake, when he was just a little bitty toddler, we had a dog called Sam. And Sam was absolutely the ugliest coon dog you ever saw in your life. But he was so protective of that little boy, he would lay right by his walker outside, and anybody that walked up to him that wasn't a family member that he knew, he would bare his teeth, boy, and I mean, he would get you. Well, my dad and mother came to visit one time from Wisconsin, and they jumped out of the truck, and my dad ran over to get Jake out of the walker and pick him up and hug him, and Sam went right over and nailed my dad and bit him rather severely. Was I going to punish that dog? Not on your life, because he was protecting not only my son but my property, and I think we're seeing a little bit of the same story right here.
Oh, for sure, and it goes back to the same thing as the cop let it escalate way out of control. There was many different choices that cop made up to that point before he had to squeeze the trigger.
I agree with you.
He could have called dispatch and had them get a hold of the people that owned the dog. He was at the premises. He knew where they lived. They weren't going to go nowhere.
That's right. No, I totally agree with you. And
so many other things he could have done.
I agree with you, and I do thank you for your call this morning, because I'm glad we brought this up. Thank you, sir. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, sir. Call it quickly. You've got about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, won't need that much. Just a little observation by Michael Savage a couple of weeks ago on the Keystone.
Yes.
It's the oil is now transported by rail freight, and who owns the rail freight? Mr. Buffett. Couldn't there be some backroom dealing going on there?
Well, I'm sure there may be. When Warren Buffett's name is mentioned, of course, with the big benefactor as far as the checkbook to aid various and sundry political campaigns, I'm sure there might be. But, common sense says that there are thousands of pipelines through the Midwest. This is just going to be an addition, and possibly the best one ever built as far as enviro safety factors. And for this president to stall this and delay this when absolutely he has no grounds for delaying it. Everything came out ecologically friendly. This is ridiculous, and it's a slap to you and me in the face as consumers to keep the price of oil up as high as it is today.
I agree, which points to this being the only explanation. Maybe there was some backroom dealing going on there with Mr. Buffett.
It wouldn't be the first time, my dear friend, and thank you for your call this morning. I appreciate it. God bless. Call again. Thank you. Wow, interesting calls. And, you go to shooting a dog on somebody's property, and, you have opened up a can of worms. I know that I've got a dog outside that will rip you everywhere but loose if he's loose and you come on my property, unless he knows you or one of us is out there with him. And I don't mind. I don't want somebody walking around my property. Good morning. You're on the air. Quickly, I got 30 seconds.
Yeah, Zap, I watched the video of that, and that dog wasn't aggressive at all until that guy kicked at him.
Yeah.
That cop kicked at him.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't too aggressive. That guy shot that dog with no reason at all.
It just probably seemed to him to be the best way to solve a situation because he was timid, he was scared, he was unqualified, and quite frankly, I'm going to take the dog owner's side on this also. I've got, like I said a minute ago, I've got a dog that you don't want to come on the property if that dog's loose because he will nail you, and quite frankly, I'm not going to yell at the dog.
Hey, that dog was wagging his tail at that guy.
Yeah.
He was wagging his tail when he went up to that cop car.
It's too easy, I think, and I'm running out of time here, but it's too easy to pull a gun and try to eradicate the situation. Fred, God bless you, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You betcha.
All right,
Bye.
Take care. Got to run. The news is next from ABC. I just want to tell everybody thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 on Thursday for more of Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR 1230 and streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Have a good day.